Good evening, Canby. Welcome to tonight's special city council meeting and work session. We are just going to jump into things here first to start with, and I'm next. So looking at the agenda here, citizen input and community announcements. There's not anyone here in the audience, and I'm supposing no one wrote in. We've got nothing. Okay. So the first order of business this evening is considering order number 25-001, in order granting a modified noise variance application from Perlo Construction and Trammell Crow for early morning concrete pours and concrete tilt panel crane picks at 2121 Southeast Township Road from 5:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. starting December 1st, 2025 through February 2nd of 2026. And Miss Emily, our attorney, will take us through that or fill us in.
Good evening, Council. This order before you is the formal order, the formal adoption of the consensus that Council reached at the last Council meeting in which you conducted the public hearing on the noise variance. You heard, on the record, you'd heard evidence from both the applicant, from members of the public who wish to testify, and then I believe there were some written materials as well, staff report from staff, and then I think written comments too. So based on all that evidence in the record, consensus was last time that you would grant the application for the noise variance subject to modifications. Modifications meaning not giving the applicant exactly what they asked for in the application. And that modification was to begin at 5:30 a.m. instead of the requested 3 a.m. And so you have the order in front of you reflecting that. The order adopts also written findings in support of the order, written findings explaining how council came to this decision based on the criteria in the code. So what the law in the code says that you may make this decision based upon, and the evidence in the record that you heard at the public hearing.
Great. Any questions for our attorney? Any comment? Okay. Yes. Just want to make motion. That would be perfect.
All right, I'll move grant the Trammell Crow Company noise variance application subject to modification in accordance with the order.
Excellent.
Second.
Motion has been made by Councilor Waterman and seconded by our City Council President Hensley, and that is to approve the Trammell Crow grant the Trammell Crow Company noise variance application subject to the modification in accordance with the order. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? That carries 4-0. Next up is a carryover from the last City Council meeting, City Administrator Business and Staff Reports. Mr. Ely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Yeah, this is a carryover from our meeting last week. Ran short on time, so we've got some time here built in until our 7 o'clock council meeting. So if you have any questions as we walk through this packet, feel free to flag any items. First and foremost, I wanted to start off with a couple still shots from your meeting last week. It was I just didn't want it to go unnoticed. Very nice morale booster for staff. A lot of work went into that meeting, so I wanted to thank you all for bringing together kind of a Canby Cares moment, full council chambers. I don't know the last time you've had that, but it was nice to see police officer promotions, kids from Canby High School getting promoted. Obviously, the dog Sugar was a big hit, but the hometown hero, that hadn't been done in a few years, so maybe we can get on a cycle of every year. Just a great job, Mayor. I know you got a few emails on how you facilitated that meeting, so thank you on behalf of Don, our Community Development Director. A lot of work went into the noise variance, so you saw a business and a community, and in the end they're shaking hands, so we got the still shot on that one, so appreciate that moment. I know we got out of here at 10:30, but thank you, council, on behalf of staff. Appreciate it.
For sure.
Just a few updates. The first week you all authorized the pink sistas And the waste collections for the carts, 250 of them were gone. And so now they're back out ordering more. So pretty cool. As I drive around Canby, I'm starting to see the pink carts out. You're the only city doing it. It's a sort of a beta test for this organization to see how it rolls out, so to speak. These are recycling carts. So jump in, feel free.
Yes, sir.
I will just say that it is starting to get out there about the pink carts.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention this during my council comments and liaison reports at the last meeting, but I did attend the Clackamas City's dinner meeting, and I had a couple of folks from other cities come up to me and ask me about the pink carts. And I had told them that they should, if they're interested, to do it either someone was interested in doing it at a countywide level, someone else was interested in doing it at at their city level, and I said, I told them that we had to do some wordsmithing when it came to our franchise agreement and stuff, and that if they have questions about that it's more than welcome to reach out to City Hall, and we would be happy to share the information about that with them. So it looks like we might have kicked this off, and hopefully it spreads from there.
Mayor.
Do we do any kind of a press release about the partnership and whatnot on that?
We did not. We've done some stuff on our socials, which are really cool pictures, but we haven't pushed an official press release. I can work with Jamie on that.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. Just, if their objective is to grow it, more, which I think it is, us being the starting city, the founding city of it, I think would be good to get out there.
Okay. I might have news on the finance director tomorrow. Background went well, so I think I will be with our human resources director, Mr. Wood, over there, making an official offer tomorrow. So you'll be the first to get the email, and then I'll inform staff as well, and then we'll take our next steps. So it's been a great process, and we're excited to bring on our new finance director.
Great.
Last week, met with the Canby Utility GM, Carrie Duncan, who's having a meeting tonight with her board, Canby Utility. You might have gotten a call, Counselor. She was emailing me today.
Yeah, I can't come to the meeting tonight.
So here. As the liaison. We are meeting with Canby Utility, Bonneville Power, and PGE. I set up a meeting with Don and all of those entities. And Mayor, I think you're going to join us on November 20th to review our pipeline of growth and with all the energy experts in the room. So that'll be an exciting meeting. And then on page, I think it's one of these pages. I'll just jump ahead here. Just so you all aren't surprised, we're working in partnership with Cub as they look to find another water intake. As our community grows, they need another source of water and more water storage. And so one of the sites that they're looking at doing due diligence with our support is up next to the Public Works building and the wastewater treatment facility. And you can see the demarcation there of this property, which is owned by the city, but outside the urban growth boundary, outside city limits, county land. So they're just having some exploratory conversations with DEQ and Clackamas County about any land use encumbrances or hurdles that would need to be cleared. Obviously, we'd need to consult legal. But so very early in this process, but Carrie is doing the same briefing tonight over at Canby Utility, so we thought it'd be good to sync up and do it together the same night.
So I'm just noticing that at least maybe the site for the intake is slightly downstream of the wastewater.
Great observation.
And I know that the wastewater does a lot of care to make sure it's very clean when it comes out, but that might be an issue in the future for somebody to notice if I notice that.
Yeah, Mayor and I just discussed
We were just discussing that, yeah.
So if I had a Crayola crayon, I could draw on there. Part of the work would be to align the effluent discharge from our wastewater treatment plant, although our folks at the wastewater treatment plant would argue if they were here today that that water is cleaner than the Willamette. I'll just put that on record. But they would move that downstream from the new water intake as part of this. If, this is all if, hypothetical, we were going to get that far.
Okay, I just noticed.
Good observation.
Yes, Councilor Patton.
Something else I will just throw out, because when I was originally hearing about where this water treatment plant might go, I thought it was gonna be down here. There's like the little block in between Public Works and Eco Park, and so it'd be kind of buried down in there. But if it is up closer to Territorial, we took a tour, and this is just to keep this this is something that was talked about some time ago. We had took a tour of Wilsonville's water treatment plant, which is also run by Olvia or whatever, however you pronounce that. And what's interesting is they sort of incorporated a public park along with the water treatment plant. So there's a water feature that is tied in with the water treatment plant. So some of the water actually goes through the water feature before it is then treated or something like that. And there's some like windows into parts of the water treatment plant that people can look through, and they have like signs that are lit up saying what the various things are in the plant. Okay. And so if it's that close to the street, and this is essentially considered a public park, and we could still look at maybe doing something like that for educational purposes and to kind of beautify what would ultimately be a fairly industrial building, I think that would be super awesome.
Okay, noted. I'll hustle through this. I can't read the.
You're good.
What's that say? 643, okay. Let's jump back here. Reported last time, we're still on schedule, street maintenance fee. January 1 implementation. Right now, we're doing some work with DKS Engineering to make sure that the implementation is equitable. We got to come back to you all to index this to inflation as per your direction, and then choose the amount that we bump up from the $5 a month fee. Headed over to Bike and Pedestrian Committee on December 9th, just to listen in on their latest conversations around the logging trail, talking with them about some sidewalks, safe routes to school, some ideas that they have on that front. I haven't been yet since I started, so it'd be nice to go visit with those folks. Walnut Street, a lot of bullets are starting to stack up there, but I think it's good momentum. Got to keep pushing those rocks to make sure we hit that construction window for next year to get that outlet built. I know a lot of lip biting's going on right now, but I promise you the 2026 is the construction schedule. We did get a little bit of a note from Mother Friday, that Mother being ODOT on the intersection that had some comments that we need to respond to. So I'm making that a top priority for the staff going forward. That came out Friday, November 4th. All of our easements are re-signed and bundled, or will be re-signed and bundled and over to the county for their next meeting for our IGA. Thanks to legal counsel, they helped us get the IGA across the finish line. So that's going to be December 4th when Clackamas County, I think the mayor and I are going to try and show up for that meeting when they bless the intergovernmental agreement that you did last week. So I want to keep Walnut top of mind. So it's constructed in 2026. Code compliance demo. I know a few of you have been asking about this. The police chief has found a template, software as a service that other police departments are using that we could attach to a front page of our website, and residents could go on and report a crime or report a code complaint. Ideally get to reporting like a pothole, some of those things, and then there would be a ticket and follow-up call issued. So excited to see that demonstration. That's coming next week at your council meeting. We had a visit, I'll call it a friendly visit from OSHA Friday. And thanks to Pete Wood, our HR director. He's been on top of this response. I have it in your packet there. There was 5 different categories that, and 13 different items that they asked for more information from us, 5 hazards. And HR is working with CIS to get those buttoned up. Everybody's been working really well together to pull all that information together. Some we just didn't have it in one place. And others, our safety committee, which meets tomorrow, ironically, is working on pulling together. So thanks to Pete for his work with the team on that. 10th Street and Ivy, hoping you all can come early on the 15th here in the Willamette Room, I believe, next door. We're going to do a little bit of meet and greet with residents on 10th and Ivy, kind of help celebrate some of that construction work and talk to them. We'll have contractors there, engineers there, employees there. It's been a little bumpy out on 10th Street with a couple of strikes of water line and different fiber lines and whatnot. So I just want to say thank you to the neighborhood for their patience and answer any questions. Mayor.
So just a clarification, the November 15th
Yeah.
is a Saturday.
I thought it was the 19th.
19th.
Okay.
Okay.
My bad.
No,
That's a
that's okay.
typo.
I just wanted to
All
double
right,
check.
typo, okay.
I'm locked in
I
on
had
the
the same
15th
question
for some
written down
reason.
here. Thank you.
Yeah.
I could
I was
see
like,
you were like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I think it was the 19th
What?
on that flyer, but I will ask. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Where's AI when I need it? Okay, let's see here. This one is a little interesting, just to kind of do a flyover on this peer grant. This basically, after the Labor Day wildfires, CDBG was issuing some disaster recovery monies around the nation, but mostly in Oregon, for us specifically. And a couple of years ago, we decided to put in for that with some partners, most notably the Event Center, Canby Adult Center, and the Canby Center for some generators, some backup generators. This has turned into a lot of paperwork and administration. So, and obviously some land use associated with placing of the generators. So I'm working with the Oregon Housing Community Services Department to talk about who would administer the grant, who would be in first position. It's $85,000 in administration money to help administer the grant. It's close to an $820,000 grant in all. Canby Center has already purchased their generator, so it would be a reimbursement in their case, but everybody else is waiting for this to get fully greenlit. And then, so it's a great program, great deal. Canby Fire's involved, so good collaboration. Just trying to figure out who's going to be on first. We've already started uploading a lot of the paperwork, but there's a little more that's yet to come.
There's always more.
Yeah, there's always more.
So the grant itself is $820,000 coming?
Yeah, some of that's going to get pulled back because what the authors of the grant put in for some non-perishables, like stuff you would see that Salvation Army or Red Cross have, like cots and some other things that didn't quite fit the disaster recovery model for this grant targets. So that might get pared back. So it's still going to be around $500,000-600,000
Wow, I mean,
for the generators.
and I'm guessing these are not like Home Depot generators. These are bigger support,
Yeah.
like the
Good size.
building itself for refrigeration and whatnot and all that. Councilor Maldonado, you have a question?
Counselor.
He's got his hand up, but he can't speak yet.
Councilor Maldonado.
Thank you. I'm sorry for the tardiness.
Hey, there you are. We got you.
All right, outstanding.
Did you have a question?
Yep, just want to be added so I can actually see everybody.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're here. Thank you.
Let's see, I met with, up at the gun club, the Canby Gun Club the other day with some property owners, just to talk about the Traverso Trail. The city owns that trail. It was given to the city. So more to come on that front. It's in our capital improvement plan. It's for Parks and Rec. And they welcome thoughts and collaboration, but they just wanted to have a conversation about next steps, what we're thinking. I said it hasn't been on my work plan yet. So more to come on that front. I just want to let you know that was part of my activities. Nothing really new on the Willow Creek HOA. We're waiting for them to get back to us, but the school district did call and say that they do have a woodworking construction class that would be interested in taking on that fence project. If you've ever been up in that area, the fence is debilitating and it's run its course. It's been there for a long time, and the neighborhood, from what we understand through the HOA, is interested in replacing the fence. So the school district's interested in getting their kids out there and maybe helping, so.
Win-win.
So win-win, yeah. Next month, hoping to have a 5-year look-ahead Canby financial outlook for you. So that's exciting. Revenues and expenses, what's trending, where that line intersects out in the future. Must-haves versus nice-to-haves. And I'm looking forward to that's sort of been on top of your list. It's just we're finally getting to it. I'm sorry.
We have dueling hands up here.
Councilor Water.
It's a draw. I don't know who went first.
I'm trying to understand, maybe get some clarification on the street maintenance fee. Is it in two different phases, or like the plan? Because we're talking about rolling it out January 1st, but then there's a project here saying that we still need to review stuff that's 4 months out.
Yeah. My screen locked up. You're referring street maintenance fee, timing, counselor. Yeah, we're out there doing public outreach a little bit right now. We're knocking on doors. The January 1 is the goal, the moonshot for the new billing system.
Okay.
And we're mid-November right now. But we've got to come back to council to approve the new rates.
Okay. So what's this here?
Oh, that is a memo that Jamie produced. That could be a couple weeks old. That's in your packet.
November 3rd, yeah.
Yeah, November 3rd. So it could be a little bit old information.
So is this done then? The stuff with Kittelson's already completed?
It's not completed.
Okay, because it says it could be 4 months out.
It's in flight. Yeah, no.
So do we have to have this done before we do the vote on
No.
the increase? So there's two different things going on there?
It's kind of the same time, in parallel.
Okay.
Yeah, but I appreciate that flag because we can't wait 4 months. So.
Okay.
Yes, Councilor Patton.
So with the budget, something that, I've been pushing for years now, and this is one of those snow cone things that Council President Hensley and I share, is the mid-year budget review.
Yeah.
And with everything going on in the finance department, do you think we are going to be able to do a mid-year budget review?
Mm-hmm.
So you do?
This is in advance of that.
Okay.
I didn't want to head that off. When do you typically have your mid-year budget?
We don't typically do it, and that's what we're trying to get.
Mid-year should be January.
Gotcha. Okay.
We're trying to get that as a regular
We've
cadence.
been trying
Gotcha.
to
So-
establish that.
Well,
yeah.
that answers my question.
Yeah,
So
because
sometime
mid-year
in
would be
January would be great.
Okay.
That
Yeah,
would be
'cause-
6 months into the July to June cycle would be January, if I
Yeah.
have a correct calendar.
Yeah, I think
Right.
what has been done in the past, I think a couple times, and it might have been last time, was council sat up here on the dais, and then members of the budget committee were encouraged to attend the meeting and sit in the audience. And it is mine and other members of council's.
Hello?
May I have your attention, please? The library will close in 5 minutes.
That is the first time that
That doesn't usually happen in here.
announcement came in here.
If you have anything to check out, please bring it to the Public Services.
Just so folks at home know, the library is getting ready to close. So if you planned on getting down here to get the hot book, then you
You're
better
too
wait
late.
till tomorrow. So anyways, the goal would be to
Okay.
have the budget committee, to have the mid-year budget review set up very much like our normal budget meetings,
Yes.
where there's a U-shape where we all sit around a table together,
Yep.
intermingled, and then,
You bet.
and then do that. So that is one of the hopes.
Not as part of a council meeting like.
Correct,
you're
like a
saying.
it.
separate budget
Separate.
committee meeting.
Yes.
Understood. Okay, and I will wrap here with 3 minutes, just upcoming, or just to give you a screenshot of what's coming up on I'm getting a tour of the Canby Center tomorrow. We're having a Canby Sync meeting, we're calling it. Jennifer Patterson, Matt, Chief Dale, School Superintendent, Police Chief, Canby Utility, just a look ahead, 2026, what's coming down the pipe in terms of any priorities for those agencies. That's Thursday. We're doing the load forecasting on Thursday meeting. We're going to do a change order review on 10th Street, all the different outstanding issues on the 10th Street project, all just going to get in a room and go line item by line item on that. Going to attend a LOC president's meeting, talk about local revenue tools that are coming, that the league's putting out. Head into the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting on the 18th, the bike meeting on the 9th of December. Canby School District, I talked to you about the construction class. There's also a program called Future Focus that we're talking to them about, where they can come in and job shadow some folks here at the city. And just kind of a wrap up of this month's activity. This was my November calendar. Hit the Rotary Gala chamber meeting and met the general manager of Canby Utility. The fire chief and I do a one-on-one monthly. Same with Chris at Waste Connections. Had a good meeting with Pink Sisters CEO Deb. We had a nice Halloween party for staff here. Pizza from a local vendor. I'm going to say it wrong.
Fulatanos.
Fulatanos, thank you. My apologies to the company. It was great pizza. Amazing. I'm holding internal meetings with like the finance team and the wastewater treatment team, and making the rounds with the different teams internally. I already briefed you on the Canby Utility meetings that are going on, so I'll conclude with that.
Sorry, Randy, just to back up about the meeting with the gun club, what was their concern?
No concerns, I guess just wanted to put on the table that they'd love to talk to the city in the future as we talk about what we want to do with the property that we were deeded out there. So there's a lot of land, it's not just the road, as you all know.
Right.
You can't get through the road, it's closed at the end there towards Molalla. So if the city ever gets into a conversation about what to do next, they would like to be involved as property owners that live adjacent to it, just extending an olive branch to be involved in the conversation. They feel like they've had some, I won't say a lot, but some homeless traffic, some liability issues, and just wanted to flag that as I'm new and just brief me in on what's going on out there. And public safety patrols. So that was what they raised up.
All right.
They're willing to talk.
Okay. No, it's good. Yeah, when that whole thing came about, it was definitely a lot of conversation and about that. But yeah, we're as of right now, it's not even in city limits and,
Yeah.
we're a long ways off, but, it's good to have that dialogue open and keep it going.
Yeah.
Okay. If there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn our very
So
special
moved.
council meeting. Moved and
special
seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, we are adjourning our official city council meeting, and we will move into our work session this evening to discuss the council policies and guidelines. Dun, dun, dun.
Herman's at
All
the
right.
beach.
So this is a hangover from from last week. So again, this has been a lengthy process of going through and looking at the council's policies and procedures, basically book that we have that lays out everything. We did put together a small group of counselors that Councilor Patton, Council President Hensley, and Councilor Davis, working with our city attorney, Emily, to go through, pardon me?
And Maya.
And Maya, excuse me, our city recorder, to go through and fine tune, flush out, add to, redact, improve overall our council policies and procedures. So tonight, we were ready to work on, finish this up last week. It seemed to be a lot of questions about and comments still yet to be made by the council and the mayor. So we carried it over to tonight. And hopefully we will be able to address any questions or concerns and potential changes to get this done. Yes?
Councilor Maldonado has his hand up.
I will get to him in just a second. So I think that pretty much,
Do you have this document with the questions already presented?
I do not have the document that's got the questions on it. So Councilor Maldonado, you have a question or comment?
I do, first and foremost, I want to apologize to my fellow councilors. I did call for this to be pushed to this week. Last week, I knew there were going to be questions and concerns on it. I did not want to make that cause our last meeting to run late. So I just, first and foremost, that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, appreciate that. So I guess to get the ball rolling,
Just feed through the questions as they.
well, I was going to ask those that participated in this, like, comments, questions, introduction to the process, how it worked, how it went.
Well, this is our second go at this. We've already brought it to the council. Oh, yeah, it's on.
Okay.
We brought it to the council months ago. We went back to the table with the tweaks we were asked to implement, and we brought it back, and now there's new questions. Do you have anything to add, Councilor Patton?
Yeah, I guess as far as the overall process and how this went, just as a reminder, it was decided to send this to a subcommittee, so that way we could kind of hone it down. Of Councilor Davis, Council President Hensley, and myself, and worked with Emily and Maya. So essentially, Eileen had sent us a copy of our current policies and operating guidelines, and then the draft OLC, or League of Oregon Cities guidelines, and had recommended that we use the draft document as our boilerplate, and then modify it from there. We had an initial meeting after doing homework on our own. The comments and questions and recommendations from Councilor Davis, Councilor President Hensley, and myself then went to Maya. Maya and I sat down in her office for about 3.5 to 4 hours one day to solidify and merge all of that together into the initial document. We had a follow-up meeting with the subcommittee to kind of review those items. From time to time, some new things came up in city council meetings, and that convinced members of the subcommittee to do some more work and make some more changes. It took some time for Emily to get through and digest everything and make sure that what we were recommending was not running afoul of the charter, and to still provide some flexibility within this document as to not tie the hands too much of council, because one of the things that she had made it very clear to us is you want this to be a somewhat malleable document, so you're not being hamstrung by what is in here. But you still wanted to provide enough rails that it keeps the train on the tracks. It came to the council, there was some questions, it then came back to the subcommittee, we made those changes and presented that document at the last meeting, and now I believe I have reviewed the questions today after I received them and have some feedback on kind of the process that we went through. I believe Council President Hensley also has some responses to that. And yeah, we're just looking forward to moving this, getting this over the finish line, because we think there are some things in here that will close some of the loopholes and gaps that we could suffer from through our current policies and operating guidelines. In the process of doing this, it also brought to light that we really need to make some changes to our, in the policies and operating guidelines, there's a section about boards and commissions and such. And some of that information is also baked into the charter. And really, we felt that that whole thing needs to be addressed. So rather than try and hammer out new stuff for that, we would sort of fold that into the discussion about making updates to the city charter. Because what's happened, if changes are made in the city charter, it's ultimately going to drive the changes in the more, in the guidelines and stuff that would go into that portion of the document. So that's where we're at. We'd like to get this over the finish line, and then we will start to work on those other things.
Okay.
There was also discussion, as you mentioned, with the boards and commissions that really it needed to be two separate chunks. So this is the policies for this board, and then we would work on a separate document that would govern the citizen commissions and committees.
Okay. Great.
Just a quick question. I know I submitted a PDF that was annotated with questions, and that's what I got back. Was there any other thing besides what I sent in, or could you refer to questions, or was I the one that submitted them? Okay, I just making sure I'm not missing anything.
No, and then I had these questions here. Do you want to just start reading them all come off? Okay.
So just apologies in advance. Some of them were not quite questions. Some of them were just things that I wanted to discuss. So it's not like everything is a question with a factual answer.
Well, I think if we just read through them it might be a succinct way to get through this in good time. So the first question is on page 2 under category 5, agendas. Item A, agendas and informational material for meetings shall be distributed to council at least 7 days preceding the meeting or as soon as reasonably practical. The question is, have we ever had an agenda 7 days in advance? And my recollection over the last 14 and a half years is they usually are 7 days unless there's something funky happening that there's a bit of a delay. If anyone has some other answer, you're welcome to answer him, but that's how
my experience seems like it comes out the Friday before the meeting, or at least it gets to me. Maybe it's prepared somebody else.
They're usually out Wednesday, Thursday morning.
Yeah, Thursday. They're usually, a lot of that, so the cadence on that stuff is that, so the week preceding, so like today, Randy and I met and talked about the agenda for next week so that tomorrow morning, whatever finishing touches need to be put on it can go out, providing that staff reports, ordinances, and resolutions have been reviewed and whatnot, then the package should be ready to go out. Usually it's out Thursday at some point. So it's not quite 7 days, but that's usually been the cadence. Councilor Patton?
Yeah, so for this one specifically, it has been a ask of council for many years now that the agendas and the packet information be provided to the council in advance and enough advance that they can digest it and be prepared for the meeting. In the current policies and operating guidelines, there is no requirement for when that information needs to be sent out. It's just get it out there. And so the subcommittee felt that if the desire is that we get the agendas and stuff we want it a week in advance, then we need to put it in the policies and operating guidelines so it is very clear that we need this a week in advance. And if it's not coming out in a week in advance, now we have something to go back to say, look, it is clear in our policies and operating guidelines that this needs to be out in a week in advance. Why isn't it? And what do we need to do to help facilitate that becoming a thing and getting those out on time? So that is why it was decided to bake this into this document. So that way we actually have something to hang our hat on when we say we want this in advance.
Okay.
So I guess then follow-up question to Randy, how does that adjust the cadence for the city recorder and staff for I guess getting to meet that deadline of it being able to go out on a Wednesday?
It's really, Mayor, just what we call growing a new muscle. I think I would move my cadence of meetings with you, maybe back a day, so we get a jump on setting the agenda 24 hours earlier. And then I could work with Maya and staff on getting that in motion. So we are, in fact, adhering to the new 7-day marker. So to your point, Councilor Stearns, that would be something that would be new to us. It hasn't been in the past, so.
Oh, I'm in favor of it. I would just wanted to just clarify, is this something that we're going to,
If it's in there,
we're going to try to
staff's
do
gonna have
it.
to hit it, so.
So, yeah.
No, I appreciate the clarification on why we put it, we didn't have one, so.
And I will say, as mentioned, Maya had a tremendous amount of input through this whole process. And so, because a lot of these things will fall on her head, we asked her many times for her input as to whether we were being reasonable or unreasonable in our expectations, and she did not have a problem with this.
Okay, that's the new thing. So, okay, I just wanted to, like I say, not all these things I highlighted I'm opposed to, but I just think they need to make sure we have an understanding.
Okay, the next item is also on page 2, item E. An item may be added to the agenda as long as it receives support from a minimum of 2 or more council members. The request must be made to the city administrator and mayor at least 1 week prior to the meeting. Question was, how is this supposed to work if the agenda isn't published a week before the meeting? This, and Jason can add to my comments if he has other ideas or if I'm way off base, but in my recollection, this was to be if something is, say you and Paul have an idea you want to add to the agenda. This is for while we're building the agenda, not necessarily after it's been published.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that because it says it's due, you just said, my question was it was due a week, the agenda was due a week, and our proposal to modify it was due a week before. That doesn't seem to jive, but I think it might be better to say, put an agenda on a particular meeting. So I don't know if that makes any, because it almost looks like it's put as an option to modify the agenda.
So, yeah, because as I read that, Councilor Stearns, can we change the verbiage to, prior to the publishing of the agenda and council packet?
So I will say that one of the reasons, and again, it's been a while since we've talked about this, and so correct me if I'm wrong, Council President Hensley. One of the reasons this was put in here was if we are requesting that the agenda be out a week in advance, then really it needs to be solidified before that. And it is not fair to city staff or the process for someone to come in at the 0 hour or after it to say, I want this thing added to this current agenda when it's already been published. Mm-hmm. And so this there is nothing in the current policies and operating guidelines that puts any sort of guidance on when items need or can or cannot be added to the agenda. So part of it is, if we are demanding from city staff that they have this a week in advance, then we need to have a reasonable expectation that we cannot be gumming up the works while they're trying to get that out. Another part is to provide a bit of a cooling period. If someone wants to add something to the agenda in the heat of the moment, then like a day or two before the agenda, if it's not in some sort of emergency item, which there is information in here about if it's an emergency and changes can be made, but if it's because someone has wild hair in their tuchus and they want to do a thing, then they need to wait. And we need to vet that, and it needs to go through a process so people aren't just throwing things on the agenda willy-nilly to cause a ruckus. So that is another aspect of this letter.
So my question though is, when the agenda is put out by Maya, preferably Wednesday, is at that point, with the exception of emergency, the agenda set in stone? Which case, So we are not able to add things when I say the agenda, I'm assuming the agenda that was published 7 days in advance. Perhaps what you want to do is to add it to a agenda that'll be sometime in the future. So I'm just trying to clarify the process. I mean, I decide I want to discuss the overabundance of squirrels in the city, but there's not a place on the agenda for it. And then at that point, I really can't, or I'm not expected to change the agenda once it's put out.
So if we change the one word, if we changed an item may be added to an agenda versus the agenda, would that suffice for your
I guess I'm not really so fixated on the wording. I'm trying to figure out what's the process I do to get an item on the agenda and then have it expected to be on a agenda that's soon, not next year sometime. And
the first step
that
is
should
to
be
have another
spelled.
counselor who wants to discuss schools.
yeah, well, obviously I get my buddy here to talk about the squirrels.
It sounds to me like we can ask to have anything put on the agenda anytime prior to Wednesday before if the agenda is published. Technically, it says 1 week before the meeting. That's the same exact deadline for the agenda.
So a week prior to publishing rather than to the meeting, would that clarify it for you?
So 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks before the meeting, add an item to the agenda.
Teresa?
That'd make more sense.
Yeah, I know, I see Herman's name, yeah, her hand up. My piece with that too is though that, I mean, do we not have something in our charter about emergency pieces to the agenda?
Well, it's not an emergency, it's just counselors wanting to add something to the agenda. It
Yeah,
doesn't
I
have to
want
be
to
an
have some on the
emergency.
agenda. I want whatever reason, but stupid
And
reason.
yes, I think there is
Smart
something.
reason, as long as I get him to agree to it.
And I think that's what Counselor Patton was referring to, is Emily was helping us make sure this wasn't running afoul of the charter. So I think there is something in the charter, and this verbiage coincides with it, but I will double check. 'Cause I have the charter
Counselor
right here.
Maldonado, then I'll come back to you, Emily.
Meetings. Let me turn him up.
I think you can add in there unless it's deemed an emergency. Then we can, at that point, they can be added within that last meeting.
The reason we did not put emergency stuff in here is because the emergency portion is memorialized in the city charter. And so what we tried not to do was rewrite things that memorialized in the city charter in these policies and operating guidelines, if memory serves me correctly.
And I think if we put 2 weeks instead of 1 week, that would probably solve the problem, because basically that says I have to get it in a week before, or I have to get my request with my partner here, Councilor Waterman, to request something to be on an agenda for the meeting 2 weeks. That way he can get it the week before, and then it comes on. You know what I'm saying?
You can read the charter portion.
I think that the reason this is worded the way that it is, because it's addressing the next available agenda. Am I correct in reading that, Jason?
Yes. That's why we left it, that's why it is worded the way that it is, to say that if you want to make a request to have something on the agenda, it has to be 7 days before that next meeting. Otherwise, it's going to get kicked to the next agenda.
So Daniel, and to your respect, if you try to do it 2 weeks, you've already got 2 weeks between meetings, correct?
Yeah.
That's why they're giving you a week. You get a week from one meeting to the next to decide if you want to add something to the next available agenda.
So are we good with the way that it's written?
Hang on, I would.
Could I just, so your charter doesn't address emergency additions to agendas, it just addresses emergency meetings. So for the emergency part though, chapter 4.5C, the city administrator may place routine items referred by staff on the agenda without council approval or action. So your city administrator by himself can do that, and there's no deadline for putting those items onto the agenda either. So that's what I would invoke if there was an emergency situation and you need to get something on the agenda. Councilor Stearns, I I see your conflict with the agenda has to be out 7 days in advance. If you want something on the agenda, bring it up 7 days in advance. What if the agenda goes out at 1 p.m. and then someone brings something up at 2 p.m., right? Technically, they're both right, but the agenda's already out there. What if we just change that to counselors, the request must be made to the city administrator, mayor, prior to the publication of the agenda at which they want the item to be discussed, or I would phrase that a little bit better, but to create a sequence of events there instead of locked in on actual timeframes.
Yeah, I just want to create a clear set of instructions to how to
So
do it.
sequencing would.
Sequencing and
Okay.
saying something to the effect. And then also I would suggest adding in there, added to the agenda and maybe reported to the mayor or something, so that way, you know, I got two people that agree with me, we have to give it to somebody that we want to put it on the agenda, we give it, I guess, to the mayor, right? I mean, I'm assuming that's the mayor, but I think it might be nice if it was specified in there, so that way it's not to Randy or not to, you know, Emily or not to, you know, the recorder, Maya, or, you know what I'm saying?
Well, it's
So-
in the charter that the mayor makes the agenda.
Yeah,
So that.
but I'm just saying
charter-
it's good to have clear instructions. I mean, I'm just asking for clarity, I'm not.
Good. Council President Hensley?
Well, also, I just wanted to remind everybody that it's not without history that we've had amended agendas come out after they've been published. Something has been added or taken off. So this isn't meaning, you absolutely cannot talk about the squirrel eating your power line. You can if you get two other counselors that say this is important to add it. We could do an amended agenda.
Right.
Teresa's nodding.
And the law wouldn't prohibit you from bringing it up in the meeting without there being a specific agenda item on it either. I mean, it's not good. I would say it doesn't help the organization of a council meeting, but the law doesn't prohibit speaking about a topic if it wasn't in the public notice, which is the agenda.
Just probably couldn't make any decisions on said item, correct?
You can still do that too. The rule is that your notice, which you give, notice of public meetings, which you give through the publication of your agenda, has to reasonably apprise the public of of the major topics to be discussed.
So just to,
Getting this, hold on, keep talking.
okay, that's not a problem in this group. So just to clarify, because you just made the comment, like, so is the minimum, like, so Daniel, Counselor Stearns wants to talk about squirrels. He gets Counselor Waterman. Is that enough to get something added to the
Has to be two
agenda?
more.
Okay, but the way it's written here,
A minimum of 2 or more council members, support from 2 or more. So total of 3 people.
well, I read that as a minimum of 2.
I read it as 2, and if it's 3, we should probably specify.
Support from a minimum
In
of
the
2
charter,
or
it says
more.
3 people, yeah.
Well, if it's 3 people, it should be more
And item,
clear.
as long as it receives, okay, we maybe we need to clarify that a little bit, because in the discussion, it was that counselor who wants to add something needs support from 2 other members.
Okay. So Counselor Stearns would need to get Waterman and Patton to agree that squirrels need to be talked about.
Yes. So
I
I
think
guess
there
we
should
do
be-
need
Should be a little
three
clearer on the
total.
wording there.
3 or more would make a quorum. That's why it has to be 3, not 4.
Yeah, because
Because then
the way I
it-
read it, it says the item only needs support from a
From
minimum
two.
of 2
Yeah,
people.
and that just got lost in translation. The counselor who wants to add it needs support
Yeah.
from 2.
Okay.
Okay, so I think that should be at least amended to reflect that, because I totally read that and I thought all I needed was
Okay.
Waterman support. I didn't think I needed Patton for that.
Okay. Is Emily's writing, are you making the changes? Okay,
Okay.
cool.
Counselor Maldonado, you have something else?
I do, just for simplicity and purpose, instead of stating at least 1 week prior to the meeting, why don't we just place it at a 24-hour before publication of agenda?
So I've wordsmithed something here. So where, in regards to getting it added to the agenda, I have to have an item added to the next meeting agenda. The request must be made prior to that meeting's agenda publication, or the publication of that meeting's agenda.
Sounds fine to me.
It would need to be brought to the city recorder no later than 24 hours prior to publication of agenda.
City recorder or mayor? Who's the gatekeeper here?
Mayor is.
The mayor.
So it probably should be to the mayor.
Yeah.
And it does say the request must be made to the city administrator and mayor at least 1 week I mean, if the mayor's not available for whatever reason, it would be falling on Randy or that person's seat.
Because if we already know that the agenda is being published 1 week prior to the meeting,
I'm having trouble hearing you.
your suggestions or your add-ons need to be made no later than 24 hours before that publication.
Sometimes 24 hours, I see what you're saying, 24 hours might be a little rough sometimes because the agenda might get published at 12 PM or 2 PM, or, so it's kind of like a moving
Random,
deadline. What if you say like 8 days before?
You could say 8 days before, yeah, the meeting.
Like the day before the publication, and yeah.
So 8 days before, I think would be better, because, you know, there's so much randomness in the exact timing, like Emily was saying.
Well, not 8 days before the publication, 8 days before the meeting, you guys are meeting. If the publication is.
Yeah.
Yeah, a day before the publication.
Yeah, 8 days before the meeting, that's what I mean, yeah.
Okay. So I think that takes care of that one, right? So
Yeah.
essentially, to have an item added to the next meeting agenda, the request must be made 8 days before, prior to that meeting. I see a thumb up from Council Waterman
That's fine.
and Councilor Stearns. Okay.
Okay.
And that,
So we fixed that part.
do we fix the part about an item may be added to the agenda as long as it receives support from a minimum?
No.
Okay. So
That's the next one we need to work on. So
I
an
think,
item may
did
be
Emily already
added-
write that one down?
Yeah, I have that,
What do you come up with?
as long as it receives support from 3 council members.
Okay.
Yeah, it does.
And of course, as an aside, you realize that to get support of 3 council members probably inevitably creates a serial meeting.
Well, if you don't get it
Because
in
if I
the
don't
first
get
two you talk
support-
to, you got to stop.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know if there's a way around it. I think there's a way around it. And the way around it is to have an option on, during the council meeting, to propose agenda items for the future meeting. And that way I can ask,
In public.
I can ask in
You
public.
you can do that. You can pose that question at a council meeting if there's something under, during, council comments and reports, like,
Who wants to
you
talk
know,
about squirrels?
Yeah.
Hey, I see that there's a real problem with squirrels in our community, and I want to talk about how we can control the squirrel
And
population.
do we have 3?
Is there enough interest to have that? So that can be a conversation. I mean, that's the whole point of the,
And
not
that's-
the whole point, but that's an aspect of the council liaison and reports, is to be able to say, hey, I want to talk about,
So that notice for the agenda item could take place at the prior meeting.
it could take
And
place.
probably more desirable to do that, I would avoid any.
Yeah,
So,
especially if you're not sure if you're going to get 3 people that want to talk about Rocky eating your electrical wire.
Yeah.
You know.
Councilman Maldonado?
This way.
And also, you may be able to ask, and I'm not speaking, ask city administrator to fill out the council as well on said topic.
True.
And then if that's the case, then he's bypassing any forum type situation and letting our city administrator.
That would work as long as, so if Councilor Stern said, hey, Randy, could you poll the council and see if anyone's interested in this kind of agenda item? Randy can go poll everyone as long as Randy doesn't go back and tell you Councilor Stern's result of that poll. So the result of the poll outside of a public meeting.
Okay. I think it's best, and maybe we should put it in there, probably best practice is to bring up agenda items during the meeting, because anything else, you're on a high risk of treating a serial meeting, and I don't know. That's what I'm talking about the issue right now, because,
well, the nice thing about this document is it's
Yeah.
a living, breathing document that we can try out, and a year
Right.
from now, if we want to adjust it, we can.
And we didn't put all of the OGEC rules in here. We're supposed to already know those.
well, yeah, and that's fine. I just, like I say, it would be nice to, because one thing as a council, when I first was put on here, is I had no idea exactly what time I would, and I kind of learned, and I'm okay to do it now, but it'd be nice to go like, here, hey, it says here that we can do it at this point, so that's why I view this document as a sort of a instruction manual for how to be a counselor.
Okay.
And the only reason I would say bring it to our city administrator is running the risk of running over time during meetings. I know that's going to be discussed later in the packet.
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. All right.
All right, the next item is not a question, but an item of discussion. It's also page 3, item E, public comment. Public comment during council meetings is not an absolute right. Rather, the council permits public comment only for the limited purposes of hearing from the public about matters directly related to the business of the city that is within the council's jurisdiction. The public comment period is a limited public forum, and comments are therefore appropriately limited to matters of concern, official action, or deliberation which are or may come before the council. The council is not creating an opportunity for and will not accept public comment on matters that fall outside the scope of the council's jurisdiction, such as employment issues related to employees and officers who are not appointed or supervised by council. This was an item that you wanted more clarification on, Daniel, so did you have a specific question?
Well, I'm trying to think how this works in practicality. Joe out there comes out and starts talking, and then about a minute and 30 seconds into his discussion or his comments, it's clear that he's talking about, let's say, an employment issue. Is that point? But at that point, if the mayor tries to argue with about it, his public comment turned in from 3 minutes probably to 6 or 7 minutes. And so I think, for one thing, it would be probably better just to let whoever's making the public comment finish their comment. And the second thing is on that is, as a practical matter, any complaint about a city, whatever the city does, is a complaint about one or more of its employees, because the city cannot act without its employees. So if something is not happening, and so how do you distinguish between an employee complaint about an employee and then so the public has a right to say, hey, you know what, my street's not being swept. Well, that's a complaint about an employee not doing their job, right? So that's kind of where my mind was going on that, is how that doesn't seem very clear and limiting. And then the other issue is that it seems like the last year we have nothing but employment issues in front of us, and I don't know if that was to be how that would be shut down, at least the memorable meetings. I mean, yeah. So that's kind of my thoughts.
Yes, and so I'm going to lean on you, Emily, a little for this, because I think you had a fair amount of input in this public comment section. So one of the concerns that we had was, in our current document, we have little to no guardrails on public comment. Someone could come in here and comment about, they think the sky is purple instead of blue, right? And they could say some things that could get the city into some pretty hot water. And so there was a desire to put some guardrails on this so that the mayor and the city could try to limit some of the liability of someone coming in here and espousing, nasty, vile things. The mechanism would be the mayor just puts the gavel down and he says, cut the mic, you're done. And you're escorted from the room. You are done speaking if you are going off the rails. When it comes to the speaking about an employee, if someone says my leaves were, I was expecting my leaves to get picked up, and the city staff, the street sweeper came by and didn't get them all. That's one thing. But if they say employee X is a turd because they didn't come in and get my leaves and they are horrible and they should be fired, that is unacceptable. That is crossing the line. And so it is up to the mayor to then say, we are now bleeding past you. You are now directly attacking a city of employee, and now you are done. That is part of it.
What if it's my complaint, though, as a citizen is...
There's open channels. They should be going.
But me as a citizen, I don't know really any other channel. I don't know who the HR person is. I don't know these things. So I'm going to have a complaint because Joe employee came in and did something really rude. Maybe he ran into my car with the street sweeper. So I am really, as a citizen, mad. And where do I go? If I go here and they're telling me, shut up, don't talk about here, then that just creates a very, very frustrated citizen who can't express, and it could be because not all employees are perfect all the time. I mean, and there's got to be a mechanism for the citizen to say, I am displeased with the conduct of somebody who works for the city.
So that's where it's about the person running the meeting. So, if if there is, this is me, I tend to allow, great, you got your 3 minutes, you can espouse what you want about the street sweeper and the driver needs better driving lessons and whatnot, and immediately that would be, Mr. City Manager, give him your, sir or ma'am, give him your phone number and he'll follow up with you. That's it. We're moving on to the next topic, right? I mean, if they get unruly, then yes, that would be on me as the presiding officer to say, okay, without slamming our employees, you don't need to do that. Yeah, an issue with the street sweeper hitting your car. That's the guy you need to talk to. Give him your phone number and he'll give you a call tomorrow.
And technically, with the development of the new comment cards, they need to fill that information out. And so the city would automatically have all of that contact information for that person. Because on the new card, there is a section that says, would you like, because one of the things that came out of this public comment discussion was sometimes citizens are just in here to make their case and then they're happy to walk away. They don't need to hear follow-up. They don't want to hear follow-up. Well, now there is a section to say, you're speaking on this item, do you or do you not want the city to follow up with you? And if they check the box and say, I don't want city to follow up with me, then the city is not going to pester them. But if they check the box and say, I want you to follow up with me, then the city is going to follow up with them after the meeting.
Okay. I'm still, like I say, it's, as a council, we have oversight over the city, including the administrator.
Only the administrator.
But the administrator, but because the administrator has oversight over pretty much everybody else, then if the administrator, and it's not anything against you,
Daniel,
if the administrator is not doing their job because the employees are not being supervised very well or whatever, there has to be some way for the council to be responsible for that. And if there's no mechanism for that to come out in the public, then by necessity, it has to go in behind the scenes, and people are going to find other routes to do that.
Which is what we saw last year, and you didn't like it.
Yeah, and so I would much rather it be out in the council and before the council, and have a way or a path so that the council can be informed. And not just say, sorry, if one person has a grudge against somebody, yeah, it's one thing. But if we got citizen after citizen after citizen coming up then and say, hey, maybe we should talk about this a little bit, and if we're saying, no, we can't talk about it, then I think that's basically just moving it into the shadows.
But here's the deal, Daniel. It is very clear in our city charter that we as council members do not manage the city staff. And if we have an unlimited mechanism for citizens to come in and disparage city staff because they have a problem with them, not only does that destroy the city morale, undermine leadership, but it also opens up an avenue for slander. And I do not we have enough problems as it is at the city. The last thing I want to do is open up a public mechanism for people to come in and slander city staff who we have no control over to then get sued. So I know that there are people who want to blur that line. This is an effort to provide cover and safety, a safety mechanism for us as a council, for city staff, and ultimately for the citizen. Because if they come in here and they start saying a bunch of crazy stuff, now they are liable as well. They could get sued as well. So that is not what we're looking to do here. I also think, and this kind of goes to your point when you were asking Councilor Waterman at the previous one, this seems to restrict items of discussion to things that are related to the city. And the answer is yes, it does start to narrow that down. Because that, if memory serves me correctly, Emily, one of the concerns was if people are in here talking about things that are not related to things that we are talking about, or they're coming in here to espouse some sort of political view or something that is way out of line, then that opens us up to more liability. And so this allows us to put some guardrails on that. And the goal is to have these rules about public comment posted at that door so that people understand that when they come in here, that this is not just a forum for them to be able to say whatever they want about anything and everything that they want. It is an opportunity for them to communicate with the council on concerns that they have about the city that they live in and the things that concern them that we may actually be able to impact and help them with. That's the goal of this. Is that correct?
Yes. 2 points really fast. I get your frustration. How are you supposed to know how things are going if there's no way for you to know how things are going? And you don't want to drive things underground, as you said. But also there are significant risks in opening up a public forum for comments specifically on city employees. There are middle grounds, right? So part of your yearly evaluation process for the city administrator position, you could build in a process for gathering feedback from stakeholders as part of that, for example. You could do a citywide climate survey, not associated at all with the evaluation of any position, just to see how things are going in the city. I would say that's within the council's scope as policymakers to take temperature at that very high level. Just a couple of examples. So I understand what you're saying. There are third middle ground options that, might be worth talking about in a separate session. To your point about limiting things to matters within the city's scope. Yeah, you're exactly what you said. Also, you're here to do the city's business, and these meetings already go long. You need to be able to do the city's business. So limiting comments to within matters of concern of the city, which is already fairly broad. So regional level political issues are matters of concern with the city. I would say some federal political issues are also matters that could be argued to be matters of concern within the city. So that's fairly broad, but it also does create that nexus between city stuff, business you're trying to conduct, and feedback from the public there. You have no legal obligation to allow people to make public comments. It's not a First Amendment free-for-all in here, but as soon as you do open up, the ability for people to make comments, if you do it in the proper ways, you can properly place restrictions on it. Caveated that it's still a little clear under Oregon specific law to how far you can go, but under the federal law, you certainly can.
Are we good?
No, yeah, thank you. Okay.
Before we leave this page.
Not leaving the page, you mean this item?
No, this page 3.
Okay, we have another item on this page.
Oh, do we? Okay, well, then I'll wait till we're done.
Okay.
Because maybe it gets addressed.
I'm sorry. We are on, page 3 runs into page 4. So I'm on page 4, I apologize.
All right, so on page 3, item B, roll call, are we actually wanting the city recorder to take an actual verbal roll call?
Yes.
Yes.
And it will be recorded in the minutes of who was present either in chamber or online at that time.
And I'm sorry I didn't send this in, but why this?
I don't know about Councilor Patton or Councilor Davis, but I don't remember the whole conversation around this piece, but I do remember that I have had folks in the public ask me, well, was so-and-so there? And they just didn't happen to realize that they were on Zoom. So if they have a verbal, Councilor Maldonado can be like present, then it's recorded. If they heard them, it's there that person is in attendance and just not sitting here with us. Was there another point that I forgot?
No, that is pretty much it. And I think, does it show in the minutes who was or wasn't at the meetings?
Yes.
It does. This just sort of clarified. And I think this roll call section was in the recommendations from the League of Oregon Cities as something to do.
And I know other cities do it too.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Okay. Moving on to item 2, which is on page 4, but the same section of public comment. It says 2 periods of public comment will be reserved for every regular meeting of council. Each period shall not exceed a maximum of 30 minutes unless majority of councilors present vote to extend the time. The portion in question is, the first period of public comment shall be limited to items placed on the agenda other than public hearings, and the second period of public comment shall be used for comment on any issue of the city business other than agenda items. The question here is, isn't the first comment period always for things not on the agenda? And the answer is yes. I think this might be a Scrivener's error.
No.
It's always been don't you say, for non-agenda items? Yeah, it's always been for non-agenda items.
Because when there's an agenda,
He
that
files them.
item, those comments are saved for when that item comes up during the agenda.
So it says the first period of comment shall be limited to items placed on the agenda.
Yeah, I don't know why it says
So
that.
if that's the case, then we have to say, sorry, sit down, wait till the end of the meeting and then comment? I mean, that's kind of the way I'm reading the way
That's the way we do it now.
So
So we let them speak.
I need to look at this a little deeper, but I think this is also in the recommended guidelines.
Remember this.
Is that, so essentially, instead of holding the comment cards for that item on the agenda, in doing so, you're essentially creating a public hearing for that item. Public hearings are handled one way. This is saying if people have comments about things around the agenda, they do that in the first period. And if they have comments about just general stuff, then they do that in the second one.
I don't remember.
I need to look this up to see if this was in the boilerplate.
I think if we did that, you'll have a revolt here, at least in Canby, for a little while.
I mean,
Change is hard.
We would have people sticking around to the meetings much longer, that's for sure.
Emily?
So I think the main point of asking folks who want to give comment on public hearing items to wait until those items come up on the agenda is the record for the public hearing isn't opened until that agenda item comes up. So if they give public comment about it, it's might not make it onto the record. And the record's important because that's, contains the evidence on which you make your decision.
But not everything on the agenda is a public hearing.
No, I know.
Yeah,
That's why he just files them away to that. I don't remember this portion of the conversation, to be honest, and I actually don't agree with that language.
So yeah, I mean, I totally understand that aspect of, if it's somebody wants to address the council and the agenda item is, I don't know, a noise variance, then yes, then those comments need to wait for that public hearing.
That's fine.
I think the conversation piece is if there's something later in the agenda, a resolution or an ordinance, what we've been doing is that their comments get set aside until we get to that agenda item. And so that first agenda period is like, hey, mayor, council, we really think that there's a problem with squirrels. You think that you need to open, small 22 hunting season on squirrels in the city of Canby, and, it's not on the agenda, but that's their point to bring up agenda type items. So it seems like that's what I think we're trying to root out here.
Yeah, so just so you know, this is the exact wording so in the original boilerplate, it says, of this section, the first period of public comment shall be limited to items placed on the agenda other than public hearings, and the second period of public comment shall be used to comment on any items of city business other than the agenda items. So this is one of those things where it just got rolled in from the original boilerplate. We never made any adjustments to it.
So can we adjust this?
I don't see why not. No, absolutely not. We must do it as is.
Hey, I'm just trying to, follow the recommendations of the subcommittee, And
Yeah, so
I
I
want
can
to say
tell
that you're
you-
wrong and this needs to be changed.
This is something
Trying to
that
be
was
polite.
glossed over by the I'm assuming was glossed over by the subcommittee.
All right, so Council President Hensley, your finger's up.
Yeah, I concur. I thought maybe it was a scrivener's error. I think we just it just rolled through. I do not like this language. I prefer to do it the way we have been doing it, where non-agenda items are spoken to at the beginning. That's also where someone might just be coming in to tell us about an event, because it's public comment and community announcement section. I feel like we should leave it the way it is. If someone's coming to talk about an ordinance, file it away to that section of the agenda as you have been doing, because we have had it where there's been like 3 cards and it might get dwindled to 2 because somebody's question was already answered in the presentation.
Correct.
So we might not need to take up that time. That's 3 minutes we can have back in our life, right? So I think we should leave it the way we do it.
So I'm hearing fix this language to reflect current
That,
practice.
the highlighted should probably just, go.
Okay.
So then since we're on that one, so I'm not comfortable with the language of capping it at 30 minutes for public comment.
Well, it's not capped at 30 minutes.
It says
Well, it
that
says
each
If you read
period,
it,
Each period shall not exceed a maximum of 30 minutes unless a majority of councilors present vote to extend the time.
so it's not capped at 30 minutes.
Yeah, but
If you have 50 cards there.
sorry.
We
Then-
can choose to extend it.
So then let me rephrase my comment. I don't like that.
10 people at 3 minutes. When do we have more than 10 people unless it's a hot button item, which, like you said, we have 50 cards, we could vote to be like, okay, maybe we need to give it an hour. But later in the agenda here, you're going to see that we have a
Why is
cap on
that?
our meeting time, so.
Why is that aspect being taken away from the presiding officer of making that decision on whether or not public comment should continue or not?
I believe that there was a desire to put some guardrails on the length of public comment so that if we want to stick to meetings that will end at 9 o'clock, we have got to shave time elsewhere. And so this language is in an effort to try and keep our meetings to end at 9 o'clock, but there are mechanisms in here that with the council's approval, that A, public comment can go longer, and B, a meeting can go longer.
Well, and again, I don't have a vote on the matter. These are council policies and guidelines. Or do they say mayor too? No, they don't. Okay, just council. Good. I've just, again, I've always erred on the side of if people have come and they want to speak and address the council, I'm going to give them that time. I just think that it's putting too stringent of guardrails on the presiding officer, whether that's the mayor or the council president or whatever. So that's for all y'all to decide.
And I think it should also be noted that there is still 2 sections of public comment. And so if both sections go to half an hour, that's an hour of public comment.
Well, is that what we're here for?
We're here to do the business of the city.
Right.
And hearing from citizens is part of that, and passing ordinances and resolutions, and that is another part of it. And so we have to balance that workload. And if an entire meeting, if there is 30 cards there because people are upset about the squirrels chewing through power lines, then perhaps we need to kick that to a different thing and say, look, there is clearly 2 hours of people here to complain about squirrels chewing through the power lines. So we are going to have a supplemental meeting, or we're going to have a work session, or we're going to have a community vetting session where you can all come in and have, 3 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour to complain about squirrels chewing through power lines. This is all in an effort to try and provide some guidance and guardrails to the process that otherwise have not been there previously.
Like I said, I don't have a vote in this game. I'm just making my comment. Okay, thank you.
Didn't Herman have to say
He
that?
had his hand up and then he took it down. Did you have something?
No, my phone was in my folder wrong, and it just kept hitting the thing.
No.
I pulled it out of the holder, it was just waving at you guys at this point.
So I guess to that point,
Are we leaving it? Yeah. we
the
need-
question is, I am a fan of leaving the 30-minute cap with the option of the mayor saying, hey, I think this is going to take longer. Can we take longer to do this? Are you willing to stay around longer so that we can hear all the people complain about the squirrels eating through the power lines? That is my take on it.
At what point it does need to come up as I mean, obviously 30 minutes at one and 30 minutes at the other, that's a pretty good amount of time. Yeah, we're here to clear the public out. But at the same time, we do have to put guidelines and guardrails on it. And at that point, bringing it to the rest of council would be, I mean, it's, I better term, it's the polite thing to do.
What is everybody else's flavor?
I would be in favor of the mayor's position of not having the 30 minutes on there because it seems like it will be invoked so rarely that when it is invoked, it will look like a sign of favoritism towards a particular subject or not. And that's the problem of having something that's not regularly invoked, that you won't have it invoked all year except for the 1 year when everybody's really, really upset about something and they'll say the dang mayor or the dang council wanted to shut me down. And
squirrels.
About the squirrels or whatever it is. And I'm just concerned that the public, I think there may be other ways of saying like this is not the squirrels are not within the jurisdiction of the city or something other thing if we wanted to do that. But I would hate to be saying, well, we'd love to hear you speak, but it turns out I was looking at the rules and they say we can't let you speak. That'd be very frustrating if I was a citizen.
And to that point, I think it would be easy enough to say, you know, at this point we've reached an hour of time for public comment. Those that are left, we will make sure that you are first in line for the next for our next agenda. Unless it's like it's just one person or two, maybe two persons, I wouldn't see a problem with that. But if you've got 5 more people in the comment section, then you know that's going to start going further and further. Obviously, this wouldn't be a hard set in stone thing. It would be, let's use our best judgment here.
I'm sorry, I don't see why we need to dedicate an hour's worth of time to a city. I do not understand why we need more than an hour in a city, more than 7, 8 to 9, more than half of our city council meeting for public comment and try to get all the other work done.
I don't disagree with you at all, and that's why I said, you know, if there's anybody left on there after those 2 30-minute allotment times, then we can then address them and let them know, hey, listen, I'm sorry we've reached this amount of time. We will make sure that you are first in line for the next comment section.
Which would be later in that meeting.
Well, no, if we reached this 1 hour mark total.
Oh, I got you.
30 p.m. At the end of the meeting, we let them know, hey, listen, this is what we've come to, and we can move forward. And, you know, it's not without, it's not going to be, a lot of this is not going to be the top kickback from citizens. We have to expect that they're not going to like every decision we make. They're not going to like everything that we do. But we still have to have guardrails for our own meetings, so that way we can actually get through the meetings in a considerable amount of time, and still be able to go home to our families and do meetings as well.
So, Councilor Maldonado, you're saying that you're for the 30-minute temperature check?
Yeah, I am. I mean, again, we use our best judgment. If there's 1 or 2 people left, that's what, 6 minutes? Okay, let's go 6 minutes over.
Okay, so at this point in time, I've got for yeses, me and Councilor Maldonado. For noes, Councilor Stearns and the mayor. Who's next?
Well, I don't want to necessarily speak for him. I do know that Councilor Davis agrees with the 30 minutes. And
He is not here to defend himself. Texting does not.
He has the scissors.
He is watching.
He has the scissors ready.
He is watching. I understand where you're at, Mr. Mayor, but I think that guidelines are good. And I don't think that, how often do we actually have 30 minutes worth? I think we're okay with just leaving it, the verbiage as it is. I'm sorry.
Are you?
I'm sorry for you, yes.
So you're all for impinging on people's right to address grievances of their elected officials?
No, but even the county takes everybody down to 2 minutes if there's a lot of people. to get everybody heard.
How about you, Counselor Waterman?
I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. It doesn't happen very often. And I think that all of us up here, if the issue is a big enough, and we feel it's our job is to gauge what is really important and what can, gauging those things. If it's something that really needs to be addressed, we can probably get a majority of us to say we can go another 10 minutes or 15 minutes if we really need to do that. We're not going to just cut everybody off just because we want to get home for our spaghetti dinner. And so I'm okay with this. I think, and again, back to setting the expectations, people also know that, we also have lives and we have a 2-hour meeting, 50% of the meeting. And if it's an important one, we can agree to move forward. And then we all have the mechanism. If it's so big that we have an hour, then perfect example is, hey, this is a really important thing. We get this. And then, this needs a bigger thing. So maybe we do a work session, a community thing, et cetera, and do more than what they could just provide in those 3 minutes. So.
Yeah, and we can head it off at the beginning, being that you have all the cards, you can add quickly. Maybe like, okay, we've got 45 minutes worth of folks here, or 46 it would be, because it's 3-minute increments. We could vote right ahead of time. Yes, let them all be heard, rather than be like, okay, we've hit 30 minutes. Sorry, folks, we're going to vote against you guys continuing. I mean, we can take care of it at the head of it.
And I will just throw out, too, one of the other reasons why we looked to have it 30 minutes for each thing was because if the scenario is that we have a lot of public comment, we still want to be fresh to be able to get through all the ordinance and resolutions. And if you spend an hour listening to public comment and then we end up rushing through the ordinances and resolutions, are we really doing the best work we can? So by doing, look, we're gonna do, I can see by the number of cards that it's going to take, 45 minutes to do this. So you 8 people had your cards in first. You will be part of the first section of public comment, and the rest of you are going to need to stick around for a second portion at the end of the night. And we'll have more butts in the seats. Maybe we need to offer some popcorn, something like that. But the goal is to help kind of spread that out so that we're able to do the work of the city more efficiently.
And as you noted, Mr. Mayor, we can revisit this if it's not working out.
Yes, Mr. Ely.
Mr. Mayor, it's 8 o'clock. We're on page 4. I don't know what your temperature
I am
is.
watching the clock.
Okay, I don't know how late you want us to stay here.
There's only a few questions.
I was going to do a barometer check at 8:30 if we were still doing this.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Are we done with that section?
I have a suggestion, I think, for what we're talking about. If we have something in there that says at the beginning, before the comments section, the mayor will add up the hours and make a vote at that time. I think that would be the very decent, best way to do it, and it might as well be in the manual.
That's what I said, but that's okay.
So something along the lines of unless a majority, each period shall not exceed a maximum of 30 minutes unless a majority of councilors present vote to extend the time, and it is recommended for that vote to be before the public
Comments begin.
But before public comment begins, or something along those lines.
Because you'll add up and say, hey, I got 10 of them, that's 30 minutes, I got 11,
Does that sound about right?
Then you're not making them feel like they're, okay, oh, sorry, they're done.
We're driving at it.
Is someone keeping notes on these changes?
No, yes.
You are, okay.
Yeah, that makes sense, because then it's not, before people start talking, it has a better air of being objective.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go.
Yeah, so we want to add that into that language. Thank you.
Roger.
Okay.
Wait, is this a suggestion or a requirement?
I think it's, what do you mean?
If you want to extend, do you have to do it before public comment starts, or it is suggested to have that motion and vote before public comment starts?
Probably suggested?
Unless a majority of councilors present vote to extend the time, I would say majority of councilors present vote ahead of comment time to extend the time, or something like that.
So requirement rather than suggestion.
I would call it a requirement, just to save
For
face
consistency.
I think requirement's good because, and then you could even make it even more fair by limiting the number of comments based on the 3-minute time thing. So that way it's, because then what if somebody goes 30 seconds over, does that take 30 seconds off the last one? I don't know.
Well, and that's why I'm thinking a suggestion is better, must instead of shall or whatever.
May
because
instead of
may
shall.
instead of shall, because we don't limit when those cards could be presented, right? So maybe we start out with a public comment and something is said in the beginning, and now more people have brought up cards, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is going to take longer. So now we need to vote to extend this.
So it may be also just a matter of Teresa and Maya rewriting that intro paragraph with me, and we can make it that part of that intro comment as well.
And I think it's fair to
3 minutes per card with it
Maximum
set
12.
being to 30 minutes unless council decides to extend it beyond that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone's forewarned that, at the end of the 30 minutes, your comments, if there's more of the view, will be carried over to the next comment section.
Okay.
Suggestion? Is that where we landed?
Are you suggesting or are you shalling? Are you may or shall?
May or shall?
I think probably shall. It could be mechanical procedure. Also have something like all comment cards must be submitted before the,
I'm not going to go for that one.
I guess my question is why would you not shall it? Like what scenario would it not be there?
Yeah.
If you're going to write the rule in, you may as well do it.
Okay, there we go.
Shall's clear.
I think I saw 4 people for a shall.
Yeah.
Okay.
shall.
Okay, moving on to page 5, item 9, comments should be made to the presiding officer. If a counselor has clarifying question for a speaker, the counselor shall give the question to staff who will follow up the speaker outside of public comment period. The question is, shouldn't there be an option for the council to ask clarifying questions with permission from the mayor?
We just did that last week, basically. We had a hearing, people made comments, and then we officially or unofficially asked the people in the audience if they were agreeing with it or not. And I figured, why shut that process down completely? It seemed to work last meeting quite well.
Yeah.
Well, but that's not
That was a
that's a
public
public hearing. That's not, yes.
Well, clarifying questions is different than having a back and forth. I mean, maybe if a council has a clarifying question, it should be directed through the presiding officer.
Well, the reason this was put in here is because we have had scenarios where a counselor says, Mr. Mayor, I would like you to ask this question. Already, I am having a dialogue with the individual because they are sitting there. And very quickly, this can go off the rails and become an argument or a dialogue back and forth with that individual between me and a city councilor, between me, a city councilor, and that person. By doing it this way, it allows the presiding officer more control over the situation. And because they are submitting those cards with their contact information, if they have other questions and stuff, then they can be reached out to from there.
It's kind of long and drawn out process. I have a question. I will write it down. I will give it to a staff member, doesn't say which staff member, who will then follow up with the speaker and then get back to me. Mm-hmm. It just seems like when you could say, hey, did you mean this or that, would solve the problem in 2 seconds.
The wheels of government grind very slowly, Daniel.
Perhaps we don't need to slow it down further. It's already slow.
I think the problem is when a 3-minute testimony becomes a presentation and a request for things and stuff like that, and then we're basically having a public hearing on a
Non-agenda item.
non-agenda item and just a citizen input.
This is one I won't wordsmith too much because I think I agree with it that the comments should not be a two-way dialogue. And yes, I have been guilty of that occurring. But also, I think if there's questions about that particular piece, again, in council comments and liaison reports, you could definitely pose that question at that point to city staff to say, hey, I have Speaker X brought this point up. I'd really like to know A and B.
Yes.
And then that way, the city administrator can seek that out and then do a proper email response or whatever to all of us, or bring it up at the next meeting. Yes, Emily?
I think this saves putting staff into kind of uncomfortable positions too. When they come to council meetings to present on agenda items, they're prepared for that. And who knows what members of the public may ask them and expect answers from them on. And often, or I won't say oftentimes because I don't know, but it's definitely a possibility that the answer is complex and that staff doesn't know. And in those cases, it's probably to the city's benefit to give staff a moment to, confer with whoever else they need to come up with the correct and full response and then get back to the public commenter in a way that gives the best service to that member of the public.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing, but a question, if something they say is like, I'm not sure what you mean, because people don't always speak accurately, I don't know if there's no way for me to really say, hey, Mr. Public Person, did you mean Northwest 4th or Southwest 4th? I mean, that's, just something like that, because, I live on 4th,
98% of the time, it's a matter of, hey, thank you for your comment. We'll have city staff take a look at it. And then city staff looks into it. And usually that looking into it means they're reaching out by email or by phone to that constituent to say, hey, you said this street, but that street doesn't exist. Or that's actually not a blind corner. It's, and then, so it does go to staff for them to do that, in that regards.
Okay.
And which then opens the window for us again later in the meeting or afterwards to say, hey, Mr. City Manager, what came of this question?
Okay, so let's do this. Should the wording about clarifying questions be changed to allow them? I am a no, leave it as is. Councilor Maldonado.
Same, no, leave it as is.
Councilor Stearns.
I'm okay the way it is, but just remember last week, and our public hearing is supposed to be treated differently, because last week we did probably the whole public comment section.
Public hearing is a different animal.
Public hearing is a different animal.
And so those clarifying questions are allowed for a public hearing?
In a public hearing, yes.
Okay.
So you're in the middle. I'll put you in the middle.
I'm in the middle. I mean, I'm not. I was just, when I was reading, I'm thinking, last week we just were interacting with the commenters all the time.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're keeping it as is.
Waterman, you're good? Hensley?
Good the way it is.
Mayor?
Good the way it is.
Sure.
Awesome.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you like it the way
You
it
might
is?
not get a vote on this stuff,
Do you have
but
an
we can
opinion?
still take your opinions.
Then yes,
It's
I'd
not
like it
like
as
we've
is.
gagged you or something. You're not tied up.
But I only have 30 minutes, so,
You have an hour. An hour.
All right, moving on.
Moving on.
Okay. We are in the next, oh gosh, hold on. Get out of this box. Open up. We are now in chapter 2, page 8, item 1, regular meetings. Regular meetings shall conclude no later than 9 p.m. unless council votes by motion to continue past 9 p.m. This says, needs to be a little more specific. Does this rule constitute an adjournment when 9 p.m. hits, or does the council still have to vote to adjourn? Wouldn't a lack of vote to adjourn have the same effect as a motion to continue holding the meeting?
Emily.
Thank you. I'm so excited. This was an excellent question. I got to break out Robert's rules.
I saw you looking at that going, wow,
wondering why
even
she
the
hadn't
attorney.
cracked open.
Yeah. So it's not a light read. It took me a little minute to find exactly. So the rule is if you have bylaws that say what time a meeting is to adjourn and you have like regular meetings scheduled as the city does, then you don't need a motion and a vote to adjourn. It's just the time comes, the presiding officer says time's here, time to adjourn. And then there can be a motion to not adjourn at that time. So adjourn, if you put it in your bylaws, you adjourn at that time. As default, there is an opportunity to move to not adjourn, however.
So you would no longer have to have the race to who's going to make an motion to adjourn. It would just be on the agenda, you adjourn. We're adjourned. Ha! Unless someone says, Mr. Mayor, I move we continue. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a very highly technical way I move to set aside the orders of the day. Mr. Robert would have you phrase it like that, but that's not necessary. It's essentially what you said, yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
So
I want to.
I have my hand raised after Councilor Moulton.
Councilor Maldonado.
I would agree with that. However, I would add that if we decide to go past 9, I don't think that more than an hour past 9 would be out of question. I believe we should go no more than an hour after 9 if.
To extend for an hour.
To extend, correct.
Extend up to an hour.
So I can tell you that during the subcommittee chat about this, the impetus behind this was it says, unless council votes by motion to continue past the 9 p.m., it would essentially be hey, can we hammer this out in the next half hour, 45 minutes? If the answer is yes, then that's what the vote would be for. But if it's look, it's going to take another 2 hours, then we're probably done. Unless a majority of council is hey, I've had 6 Red Bulls and we're going to freaking take this into the night, then that's their prerogative. But it's allowing future councils to have say in the matter.
Well, and I know that there are other cities that do this, have that drop dead, hey, we're, it's 9 o'clock, we're done, unless you guys all think we can hammer through, so.
Okay. So I have a question. Let's just say, hypothetically, I wish to go on record as saying that I oppose adjourning the meeting. Would I then have to say I request a suspension of the rules so that we have to take a vote on whether to adjourn the meeting or not, so then I can go on record as opposing the adjournment?
You have to have a second, right?
Yeah, you'd move to set aside the orders of the day, or one of those orders being the order of the day, and then.
Okay, I'm happy with that.
Okay.
Sorry, Councilor Maldonado was talking at the same time. I missed what the entitlement, what.
There's still a mechanism for me to oppose adjourning the meetings if I so choose.
He just wants to be able to say nay. Goodness sakes.
Is that what you were alluding to as well, Councilor Maldonado?
Yeah.
I like to spice it up every once in a
He
while.
likes the long route to nay now. Okay,
like
so
it.
we good with the way it is?
No, but I'm going to lose that battle. It's not about
like
my
to do
You
battle.
don't like it ending at 9?
I just want to make sure that we're getting the business done, that's all.
Well, we have to pontificate less.
I'm definitely not against it. I think that's a great idea, but we still have, again, we have to have guidelines. We have to have some sort of guidelines.
This will force us to pontificate less.
So,
What? Go ahead, Councilor Maldonado, sorry.
If there's less discussion, less questions, because a lot of the questions, let's face it, a lot of questions that are asked can be directed towards city staff or possibly outside of the meeting to the mayor, and we can actually get those answered outside of it. Instead of keeping all the questions, not every single question has to be asked during council.
Well, so to that point, back in the day, a lot of those clarifying questions were actually done in the work sessions ahead of the meeting. Mm-hmm. There was less of it that happened during the meeting and more of it that happened in the work session.
Correct.
Which is something that this group moved away from at some point in time between 2011 and today. The other thing that will help speed things up, and I mentioned this the other day, and I'm going to pick on you a little bit, Mr. Mayor, is that one of the things that you like to do is on second reading, you have the staff liaison come up and rehash what was talked about when the original ordinance came up, and then they go away and the next person comes up. This document does tie your hands a little bit in that area, and that when it comes to second readings, they can be done as a slate. And so it's like, if there are 3 second readings, it's like, this is the slate, and you would be, I move to approve ordinance number blah, 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 this, as well as ordinance number blah, 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 that, as well as ordinance number blah, 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 that. All in favor, aye, all opposed, nay, and it's all done as one block. The only time that would change is if there was an ordinance that was not a unanimous vote. If someone voted against it, then that one would need to be voted on by itself. But if any unanimously voted on ordinances that come up for a second reading would be done in a block similar to our consent agenda. Now, if a counselor is like, I don't want it that way, I want to be able to pull that off, the mechanism still exists. Like you can pull off something from the consent agenda and vote on it separately. That mechanism would apply to this as well.
Is that in here?
Yes.
That is in here, yes.
Yes, it's item C3, that has no notation of a question on here.
So that is one of the mechanisms.
C3, chapter 3.
This was actually part of the League of Oregon Cities boilerplate one that the subcommittee was a fan of, and as well as Maya. So yes, so that is why that one stayed in fairly untouched, except for the part about if it is not a unanimous decision, then it is separate. But for the most part, that is something that we learned from the boilerplate.
Yeah.
Again, my heartburn over that piece of lumping them all together like that and again, a lot of the methodology of my running the meeting was purely from the two mayors that I served with when I was a counselor. So, in terms of, so that's part of it. The other part is by doing it that way, votes have changed. We've seen that before with this at this council, not this particular group, but where a no vote became a yes vote or a yes vote became a no vote based on either new information or, doing further homework, or they voted yes, then finally read it and went, oh God, I don't like this, I'm a no.
That's why they can pull it off.
And so I get that, but again, having it broken out still gives a recap, at least it could be toned down maybe, sure. But I still think it's a matter of informing the public of what we're now doing a second reading on that is now going to become, in essence, an ordinance is a law. So that's not a piece that, again, I'm trying to be transparent with what we're doing, and I don't know if putting things in a block is transparency.
Well, I mean, the same thing could be said about the consent agenda. So.
And I don't think this takes away from transparency, really. I think that we can still streamline our meetings and still be effective. We just have to streamline them a bit to where everybody's still understanding what's going on. We're still getting considerable transparency and knowledge based on the information given. We can definitely recap, but the recap doesn't have to take another 15, 20 minutes.
And they don't.
Sometimes they do take a considerable amount of time.
I disagree with that entirely, that the second readings take up time. But
it does
again,
state in here, the second reading may be read by title only. So you're still reading the title. If there was not a unanimous vote, or if a counselor wants to pull it from the slate to talk about it separately, or if there's public comment on said ordinance, those items would be pulled from that slate and talked about separately. So I feel that it's just as transparent as the consent agenda.
Okay. Yes, sir.
If we have a hard cutoff at 9 o'clock, it would mean that certain agenda items would not happen.
Correct.
And a lot of the discussion we do as a council happens at the end of the meeting. We have the city administrator's report, we have our council liaison reports. Those kind of things are probably be cut off. And then I can imagine having a series of meetings where that particular element of the council is either not there or very much hurried up and rushed. I'm not comfortable with the hard 9 o'clock shut off, because if we have business to do and we are not doing it because of some artificial 9 o'clock deadline, I think it'll cause problems. And there may be other solutions to get you're essentially asking for only a 2-hour meeting, which is very, very rare in the past. And if we want to do a 2-hour meeting, maybe we just have to have more meetings if that's the case. But I'm not really comfortable saying, citizens of Canby, we can't really discuss this anymore. It's been put on the agenda for 4 meetings straight, but it's always been the last thing on the agenda, and we never got around to it. And I think there needs to be some mechanisms of saying, hey, if an agenda item is not addressed in the meeting because of 9 o'clock happened, and then we need to either put that item on the agenda first for the next meeting, but then we're just stacking things up a lot further.
So, no, I mean, to piggyback on what was said earlier about this, the other time parameter piece, we get to 9 o'clock and then it becomes a matter of, does the council want to continue or not? And if the answer is yes, well, great, we'll continue for, can we wrap it up in a half hour? And let's look at, last week, we started tonight because we didn't get to city administrator liaison report, city administrator business, but also, it was added because we were going to be here. Otherwise, it would have carried over, or it would have been an email that would have gone out to all of us. So, there is that chance that we get to it, and at 9 o'clock, we're like, we're done. No, we don't want to continue. Then your liaison report or council comments may get axed, and that's just the reality of that. But then it also behooves us, again, if you're talking about brevity, it's the council maybe not running its entire calendar for the last 2 weeks of all the things that we all, because I've done it too, that we all have done. I went and shook hands with babies. I went to the ribbon cutting at such and such. I, traversed the Traverso property and talked to all the neighbors. Like, is there a relevance to that? No, there isn't, but that's something we got in the habit of doing. I know the history on that, but I won't digress. You can buy me a cup of coffee, I'll tell you that. But anyway, so there are those pieces to truncate in areas, but there is that risk that, great, we can, great, we're going to continue, but all this stuff gets canceled out. Councilor Waterman and then Councilor Patton.
So I think, one, we have the mechanism to keep going forward. Number two, did we go long before? Why did we go long before? Did we go long because there wasn't any objective to work towards? And there's been plenty of times where, like, man, it's 10:30, we should probably wrap this up. And in those times we have, in times we have made the decision, my council reports, I'm wrapping them up, it's late, and I'm not really going to give everything right now. So we've already made those decisions in the past on our own. So if we have the 9 o'clock, it gives us the ability to work our meeting better and practice to make sure we're done by 9 o'clock and make sure we get everything in. And then if we don't, we could always go back and revise it. Or if we're like, hey, the last 10 meetings, we've had the vote every 10 meeting to continue till 9:30, maybe we make it 9:30.
Then we revisit, yeah.
Well, and the other aspect too is, we will get on a cadence of work schedules because we've now opened up the second Wednesday of the month to have this dialogue on work sessions, so that will help, hopefully that will help expedite the process of vetting and getting questions out of the way, et cetera. Councilor Patton and Councilor Maldonado.
Yeah, so I have a feeling you can imagine who liked the 9 o'clock cutoff. This was one of Jim's nuggets. I think I advocated for 9:30. It was decided to stay at 9. I agree that we can work with 9. And if, again, this is a malleable document. If we decide that, over the last few meetings, we've had a vote every time to extend it an hour, then we go from there. But if every other meeting we voted to extend it 15 or 20 minutes, I think 9 o'clock is fine. So that's sort of my take on it.
Well, and that may mean less items in the agenda. Or if Randy and I look at the agenda and realize that there's, two very heady issues that we figure out, do we need two, or can one of them be moved? But again, I don't mind it because one, that's part of the job. Two, if it means that we're expediting the work of the citizens of the city, then we stay. I mean, it's been rough these last couple of months because we've had a lot of executive sessions that tacked on an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours to our evenings, which hopefully is coming to an end as I look at the end of the grouping there.
Please.
So I'll leave that alone.
I think.
Sorry, Councilor Maldonado, and then you wanted something?
Oh, just quickly, but.
All right.
But I saw his
Councilor
hand
Maldonado.
first.
I would definitely put the 9 o'clock, and I obviously have my reasons I've spoken about before in the past. However, I think a lot of the meetings can be streamlined just because you had a question, doesn't mean, and then, by the way, I'm all for questions. If you have something you need to know, then ask it. But be mindful that if it's something that can be to either the mayor or to city administrator, because not every question only has to be answered by council. We have to have a discernment of, okay, can this question be handled outside of the meeting, or does it have to be handled inside? There's been many times we have questions that are asked that honestly can be asked outside. And Councilor Stearns, I know you're pretty new, I'm pretty new. If we have a question that doesn't exactly pertain to the council as a whole, and it's just kind of like, yeah, look at this might be a possible thing, it can be asked outside.
Council President Hensley.
Similarly, the questions, honestly, part of the job is reading the packet ahead of the meeting. And if we are doing our jobs, we can read that packet. And if we have questions for staff, honestly, those questions should go to Randy ahead of time. He can discern, distribute them to whether it's Dawn or Jamie or whoever that topic is, get the answer, and it could be added to the staff report and then just answer them right away. That way we don't have to have that back and forth of questions and answers taking up that time. They've already done the research, they found the answer, they add it to their staff report, and it's done. Then we can make their vote based on a full portfolio of information.
Yes, Councilor Stearns.
Oh, I just want to point out that maybe me and Councilor Maldonado, maybe just a different philosophy. A lot of times when I'm on the stand, I consider myself sort of an avatar for the public, and not necessarily when I answer the questions isn't just because I don't know the answer to the question. It's because I think the public should know the answer to the question. And so, and I've heard pretty much everybody who watches me on council, at least who's come up to me and said, thank you for the questions. And so I'm not just asking the question like, do I want to know this? I'm asking the question because I think the public and the public record should show this. And so I can try to get my comments down or questions down less, but if I think it's something that the public should know about, then I'm probably going to still ask it in public, even if somebody whispered it in my ear beforehand and I know what the exact answer is beforehand.
Okay.
Page 11, Chapter 3, Number 1, Ordinances. All ordinances considered by and voted upon. Oh, sorry.
Mr. Ely.
Sorry, I didn't get my question in this week. Page 10, just flagging location. A lot of councils are having joint meetings with school boards, or they're having road show council meetings in neighborhoods these days. So I don't know if this is boilerplate language from the league or not, but you might consider, not saying do it tonight, but leaving a little more flexibility in here because it's pretty prescriptive saying you've got to meet at City Hall here. This is section 7 called location, page 2.
Yeah.
Looking that up.
Council meetings shall be held at council chambers and civic offices in the event City Hall is not available for a meeting. The council shall meet at a venue open to the public, which is located within the jurisdictional limits of the city and meets the requirements of Oregon Public Meetings Law.
Yeah.
So
in the event the City Hall is not available, maybe something a little looser, because it says that you can still go to a venue like if you were going to have a joint meeting with Canby Utility at Canby Utility's offices or school board, that's a special meeting. Some councils are they're doing road shows, so they'll go into neighborhoods to go be with the people, as they say, in different parts of the city. I know Beaverton's doing that pretty aggressively right now.
They need to. Sorry.
But that might not be the case here in Canby.
Well,
Just saying.
in the
This is
event
pretty
this-
tightly written.
So I will just throw this out here. This is pretty much exact to the boilerplate. And I just don't think we just looked at it. I'm pretty sure that when Maya and I looked at this, we were like, okay, we just put in the information. It was never flagged.
Well, if we would just change the one sentence, in the event City Hall is not available for a meeting, we could just say, in the event City Council chooses to meet elsewhere, the council shall meet in a venue open to the public, blah, blah, blah.
If
Emily's nodding.
There's nothing in the charter that says we have to meet.
I'm
in City
scrolling the
Hall.
charter right
Okay.
now, and I'm not finding anything. So, let me scroll a little more in depth at a point, but maybe not right now. I'm reading a little bit better than I currently am, but.
Because I think if and when the time comes and there is a catastrophic event, and this building is not here, we would not meet here.
Right.
Right.
Though our guidelines and policies say that we shall.
But it says if it's not available.
You're covered
But-
in that event, Mayor.
Yeah.
But if, instead of saying not available, if we could say, in the event that City Council chooses to meet elsewhere, comma, the council shall meet at a venue open to the public, yada, yada. Does that language sound okay to everyone?
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Your charter does not have any location requirements. It's state law, and that would still comply with state law.
Okay, so
Noted.
are you making that note then?
Yep.
Perfect.
The one thing I will throw out is there's rules now about isn't there rules from the state about it being recorded and all that stuff? So we have to make sure that.
You have, if
location-
it's reasonable, you have to allow like telephonic or video conferencing access to members of the public.
Okay.
So you'll still have to comply with that requirement as well.
Logistics will still have to happen.
Logistics.
You have to take these around and to the meeting.
So before we move
Camera crew.
on to the next item, it is 8:37. Does this group want to continue to try to finish this up or hold it over till add it to the agenda for another?
We only have like 5 more questions, so 6, we got like a half a dozen more questions. And a couple of them are pretty related to one another,
Well,
if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I've kind of divided it up in the next few questions. There was how to propose
How to propose an ordinance, how to
ordinances and
propose a resolution.
resolutions. So
That's 2
that's a thing.
questions. Yeah.
And then
What's the difference?
the difference between ordinance, resolutions, and motions is sort of its own thing, is sort of a question. And then after that, there's only 2 other questions.
And that's an example of a question that I think should be asked as an avatar of the public.
yes.
What is the difference between an ordinance and a
All right, so let's then-
resolution?
Okay, so the first question
we're
was,
continuing?
how do I
Okay.
propose an ordinance? There was also, how do I propose a resolution? What's the difference between a resolution and an ordinance? Let's go with those.
Yeah.
Answer those real quick. If Randy or Emily wants to just shoot that out, and we'll move on to the next question.
What, how do you propose an ordinance?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Say I want an
that goes to the
ordinance.
mayor and the city administrator.
yeah, the process for adding
Done.
to something
Next.
to the agenda.
Yeah, that goes to the mayor.
Okay. And then the addendum to that question is, do the counselors have to write the proposed amendment?
No, they do not.
Okay.
Well,
There
I think-
is-
Whoa,
yeah.
whoa, whoa, I
Staff
think there's
does
2
that.
different things. I think those are 2 different things. I think there's an amendment to, so I think in there, the
All
amendment.
proposed amendments to an ordinance shall be in writing and may be made by interlineation upon ordinance.
Yes. And
Staff will do that. I recommend letting staff do that.
Well, I think one of the reasons why we left that amendments to them should be in writing is because sometimes we make amendments to these things and we just say, hey, this is my amendment and it should kind of sound like this, so did you get that? And then city staff is like, what the hell did they just say, right? Whereas if the counselor is like, I want to make this amendment, we just need to jot it down so that A, we can read it and be succinct on what that is. so that then that can be passed to the mayor, so that he can say essentially the same thing that we said.
So it's all read into
That is going to elongate our meeting and we won't be done by 9 o'clock.
And then it can go to the city recorder, so she has the record of it. That is the reason that was in there. It's not saying you have to write the whole ordinance down, it's just saying like, it's a mechanism to do some wordsmithing and have it written down on paper, so that way there's some consistency in the.
if you're
Just take the
motion.
copy, go scribble, 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 or staff does it, and then you add it in, and then
Yes.
mayor signs that, or we drop a clean copy for you to sign.
So one of the things I was going through my mind when I was reading that is, it sounds like, from reading it, that the mayor and administrator basically propose the ordinances, say they write the ordinances and everything else. And I'm fine, you guys write good ordinances and everything, but what if I, as a counselor, feel like I want an ordinance that the mayor doesn't want? How is the procedure for us to propose an ordinance that perhaps the mayor is opposed to or the city administrator is opposed to? Is there a way?
I can answer that question for you.
Okay.
So in 13 years, I have never written an ordinance or a resolution.
Okay.
Never. That is a conversation that I have with the city administrator and the city attorney. If it's most of the time, the ordinances that come up, ordinances are laws. Like we shall do. Whereas a resolution most of the time is just the council resolves or makes the decision to support or do or whatever. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a law, right? So never written those, but those are generally discussed, and a lot of those do circle back as boilerplate kinds of things. Most of the time we're doing, myself with city staff, it's resolutions. So that's that piece. Now, if you come, and that going back to your question about, well, what if I want an ordinance and the mayor doesn't? Well, in the bylaws here, or the policies and procedures, if you want to create a law that says, no, we only have brown squirrels, no gray squirrels, and Councilor Waterman and Council President Hensley say, we agree, then there's 3 councilors, at least it forces a vote.
Puts it on the agenda.
And makes it a tie and puts it on the agenda for it to get to that point.
Yes.
So that's
If the
already
council
baked
votes
in.
on it,
Well, at that point, it's not an ordinance, it's an item on the agenda when I got 3
And then we can
people.
direct staff to write an ordinance
But then
that
we can-
outlaws brown squirrels.
Okay, so we can outlaw the brown squirrels.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
I-
But there is a process baked into that.
Okay.
So I just want to
Are we
make
good
sure.
with that?
Well, I'm just, I don't think that process is made very clear at least when I was reading it in the ordinance and resolution section on the way that counselors can.
You are correct. We
Create.
did not memorialize in this document the process for a counselor to bring forward an ordinance or a resolution, because counselors have never really done that before. There's a lot of legalese that go into those things. There's a mechanism for counselors to get things on the agenda. And in my opinion, trying to bake all of that into this document would be unnecessary.
Well, but that's the point. Like if it gets on the agenda,
Yes.
it creates the dialogue. And if brown squirrels are to be outlawed in the city of Canby in the conversation, then we direct staff to write an ordinance that says brown squirrels are not allowed in the city of Canby. Staff drafts it, Emily reviews it,
And then we vote.
puts her stamp on it, it gets on the agenda, and we vote on it. And then at least 3 people will say, I don't like brown squirrels and I don't want them in the city of Canby.
That's exactly what I was going to say. We got to parse out the difference between actually sitting down and drafting that ordinance or resolution. That's something that you're going to really want staff to do, versus getting something, an agenda item onto the agenda so that you can have the discussion in which you hope the outcome will be direction to staff to go draft what council directs them
So
to
you would
draft.
create a motion to have the staff, to direct staff, and if we get 4 people to say yes to it.
Yes, so you'd go with the support of 2 counselors, the mayor and city administrator, to get that agenda item on the agenda, and then when that agenda item arises, you would move to direct staff to write a ordinance, resolution, however you wanted to do it, banning whatever squirrel type you want.
Well, I kind of get that, and I kind of knew that right away, but it doesn't seem very clear in the document how to do that. And that's was my kind of the direction of my criticism of the document. It should be clear. The process should be a little clearer, especially for new, because I obviously had no clue when I first became a counselor, and I've sort of gotten that clue over the last, several years. But it's like I say, if I had an agenda and I say, I really, really don't like these squirrels, and the public's coming to me and petitions are circulating, there's no real clear mechanism to how do I get that squirrel ordinance.
So here's the deal. So let's do it again here. When it comes to should we memorialize in this document the process for creating ordinances and resolutions? Councilor Waterman, yes or no?
I mean, I think that's kind of all part of our training.
Specifically?
No.
No, great. Waterman is a no. Councilor Stearns, you're a yes.
I'm a yes.
Mr. Mayor.
I'm a no.
Council President Hensley.
No.
Councilor Maldonado.
Negative.
And I am a no as well. So we are not going to put that in the document.
Yeah, we learned all that in our beginning of the governance training from LOC, so.
Okay.
Okay, next is chapter 4, motions, debate, and voting. Item 1, motions. All motions shall be distinctly worded. The question is, he wants to know the difference between a motion, a resolution, and an ordinance.
Emily.
I can take that one.
Please.
Great question. So an ordinance is the vehicle with which council adopts laws that are codified into your code, your municipal code or your development code. So it's adopting a law that is generally applicable to, the city in general. That's how you pass legislation. A resolution is how you take administrative action. So resolutions are, your master fee schedule. That's not a law because the law already says you will adopt a master fee schedule. So to fulfill the law, you adopt a resolution adopting that master fee schedule. For your city administrator, you adopt their employment contract. For your unions, you ratify via resolution the collective bargaining agreements, all those administrative actions. And then motions are just the parliamentarian method for proposing an action on those items. Like I move to adopt this resolution. I move to adopt this ordinance. 1D3. And the other one that you didn't ask, but I'll just say it anyway to round it out, is orders. So when council sits as a quasi-judicial body where you are ruling on an application like we saw with this noise variance, then you adopt orders with your, sorry, did you want to say something?
No, I'm just getting my hand up. You keep going. I'm trying to get on the list.
I think that was about it. Any questions?
Councilor Patton.
Okay, so my question is what I kind of crystallized from this. What do you mean?
We haven't adopted this yet.
I'm not making an amendment yet. But everybody be writing. Well, no, Emily's recording the changes. So to me, this comes down to, should there be a section of the policies and operating guidelines that is definitions of key terms within the document, right? And I can get behind that. And I think that things like ordinance, resolution, those sort of things, there could be a section where it talks about, you will see this word in here, this is what that word means. So,
I think that's a great idea.
You think that's a great idea?
I think it's a great idea. And remember, I'm criticizing, I'm not showing my lack of knowledge. I'm showing what I think, like I said, one of my goals is to make things process more clear for the public and people looking onto it. And if we have our own little secret meetings and jargons that we use, then the public's confused. And so I think that would be helpful.
So, question posed.
Yes.
Brian is a yes.
I like that idea. We do it at C4.
Waterman.
Rephrase the question, I'm sorry. Not rephrase it, repeat.
So, should we create a section of this document that is terms and definitions?
A glossary, sure.
Yes. Okay, I think, and Councilor Maldonado?
Yeah.
Awesome, you got it.
Okay, all right. Now, moving on, the next question that was highlighted is in Chapter 9, but Mayor had a couple things he wanted to address in Chapter 8.
Thank you.
That would be page 19, item 1D, ethics, conducting themselves in a manner so as to bring discredit upon the government of the city. Mr. Mayor, you had a comment? Question?
Yeah, my comment is I think that that's too vague.
Page 19.
Page 19.
Page 19.
The council shall refrain from conducting themselves in a manner as to bring discredit upon the government of the city.
So if I may, on this one, and Emily, you can back me up with this, one of the we had a much stricter section of decorum when in the initial document. And what we determined through a few meetings was that some of those recommendations and that verbiage ran afoul to the city charter. Because the city charter has information in it about what those are supposed to be, and we cannot make this more strict than what the city charter. We can't
I got you.
go against the city charter. So that is why this got quite a bit of wordsmithing and changing from the original one through the auspices of Emily interpreting what that can or cannot look like through the city charter. Is that a fair statement?
I'm not specifically recalling that for the ethics. I am recalling that for the enforcement section,
Okay, I might be lumping them all together.
Might be.
but I'm flipping through your charter.
Your screen's on.
And
He
what,
has
so
his
what
hand up.
was the thing that you were, which numbers and which what? Decorum? No.
Ethics.
D.
Section 1.
Ethics section, chapter 8, section 1D, ethics, item
Conducting
D.
themselves in a manner. Okay, conducting themselves. I bet you I can find it with that. I'm going to the boilerplate to see if this is something that got carried over.
While he's looking that up, do you want to go to your A or?
Did you have a comment,
3A?
Councilor Maldonado, while he's looking?
I'm just thinking that can be wordsmithed a little bit better. That's, I mean, essentially that's conducting themselves in a manner that doesn't bring a negative light to the city.
So I can tell you that this is worded exactly
The LOC boilerplate?
as the, yes, as the boilerplate. There was no changes made to this. It was just transferred over.
Do we want it in there, or do we want to rephrase it, or?
I don't see it as being vague. I see that as if you're going to be a city councilor, conduct yourself that brings the best light to the city.
Yeah, but we've had a history on this dais that that's not been the case. You know, so again, it's vague, and then there's no teeth to us to enforce whether or not someone wants, as a counselor, you know, wants to be a public nuisance.
Well,
If you're not living in the city and to the best of your abilities and to in the best light, then we can jump to the point where by a majority vote, we can be voted off the island.
No,
you
you
can't
vote off
cannot.
the island.
That is, you cannot be booted
You
off the
can't.
island.
All you can do is censure.
And censure means nothing.
Yeah, your charter uses the word reprimand, but
Yeah.
censure, same thing.
That's what I was looking at, sorry.
And I
Okay.
think I was looking at more of like, what does that mean? What is discrediting the city?
So you want discredit defined? I
Well,
mean,
yeah, I suppose there could be a whole myriad of lists of things that can discredit.
True.
You know, I mean,
I'm assuming we have the same thing in our employee handbook policy, right? Don't we have something in there that talks about behavior and being like, is there a definition of that in there?
if I want to go to, you know, the League of Oregon Cities Conference in Bend and drink a half a bottle of Jack and become a public nuisance, does that discredit, is that my own time? Am I discrediting the city?
well, I would
You know?
say if you are there for a city conference and you are doing that, then you are there as a representative of the city.
Okay,
So, yes, but if you are in Bend, not at the OLC, the LOC city conference, and you are whooping it up on Main Street and, you know, get carried off to the Hooskow, that's on your time.
well, but it's still, I mean, where's personal life and.
So here's the
And I'm just, again, I'm bringing it up because I just think that.
This is very vague. There's not a lot of teeth in this, but here is.
Shoot, I can go down the backstop and do it.
I don't know. I will not speak for Council President Hensley, but my hope is that when we do the updates to the city charter, we can actually put some teeth in this. And so this is leading to that. Also, it is not bad to have this stuff laid out so that if a city councilor, if I get intoxicated and shimmy up the flagpole in front of the Bend Police Department at the League of Oregon Cities Conference
With your
and
badge
get
on.
arrested, the city can say, he was there on city business, but it is clear that he was not doing his job, and so therefore we are not going to pay restitution to replace the flagpole, or something along that. This just provides a little bit more, guardrails.
Emily.
You can still drive through the guardrail if you want, but at least it's there.
So the remedy for violating these ethic rules would be a public reprimand, which we've added language, the very back of this draft, that would have council issue a public reprimand through the adoption of a resolution, which means you need to vote on it and it needs to pass. So reasonable minds can disagree about what is conduct bringing discredit upon the government of the city, and that vote would allow reasonable minds to disagree. So there's a bit of process in there to protect, I guess.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Then your next one was item 3A, representing the city. If a member of the council, to include the mayor, appears as a representative of the city before another government agency, the media, or an organization to give a statement on an issue, the member may only state the official position of the city as approved by a majority of the council. No member of staff may represent any position of the city except for the official position as approved by a majority of the council.
So and again, what caught me was to include the mayor. So between Clackamas County Coordinating Committee and being the co-chair there, between the Metro Mayors Consortium, the Oregon Mayors Association, Region 1 Area Commission on Transportation. So those are 4 bodies that I sit on as the mayor. And there are times when there are discussions where there is a position or a motion or something to be taken up that there is not time to bring before based on council meeting time, because this has come up before, and I got lambasted for taking a position that the minority of the council didn't agree with, and it turned in, the attempt was to make it turn into something more than what it was. And so I'm finding this to be very stringent, on the mayor to be able to go and be parts of those bodies to be able to move the city's position in that regard on a transportation topic or, some other form, especially when the legislature's in session. So I just find it to be a bit, I find it to be restrictive. So, Council President, Emily, and then Council President Stensley.
Okay.
Question. When you're sitting on those bodies, are you sitting as a representative of the city or in your individual capacity?
No, I'm representing the city.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Council President Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I see what you're saying, and I'm wondering if Emily can help us wordsmith this a little differently, because when you are acting in that capacity, I'm your alternate on C4, so I know exactly the kinds of conversations that you are in. And you don't get up there and say, the city of Canby votes this way. You are representing the city, but you also are representing the city with our already agreed upon agenda in that arena, if you know what I mean. Our stance on transportation or housing. We've already had discussions about that. So you're moving the ball on the agenda in those groups. I don't feel, that to me is very different than making a statement in the media regarding an ordinance or something that we've done or a position that we've taken as a city. I feel like those are two different pieces,
Hey,
the media versus
So let me.
your work groups.
So let me retract my question then, because you just, it's under 3 statements to the media. I guess.
It does say before other
and
government agencies.
Other.
Before, to me, means, and we can make this clear, before, not
Like
as
going,
part
like
of.
to the legislature.
Yeah,
and-
not as a member of another
okay.
governing.
So
Well,
we don't need to address
those governing bodies that you sit on they are organizations. They are not. Oh, they are organizations. Okay, organizations here. I retract that. But before another organization is a little bit different to me than as part of another organization on behalf of the city. And so we can wordsmith that to make that distinction clearer.
Yeah.
I'm, again, like I said, yeah, because I mean, again, I go to the I'll go to Metro Mayors Consortium, and it's all Metro Mayors, and there's dialogue about housing. We have a policy here, or we have a direction here, but I'm expected to sign on to a letter or something that's going to go to the legislature, and, for Canby, it's a no, it might be a yes issue, but the rest of the MMC, it's not, or vice versa. More times it's a no on the Canby side of things, but, but again, I'm not able to always bring that back. And I mean, I guess if that's the direction of council to say, sorry, I can't weigh in on this issue until I bring it to my council.
I don't think that's not, at least I can't speak for the other 2 on the subcommittee. That was not my intention. I was for the media or testifying before a board like the legislature.
Councilor Patton.
So I can tell you that the wording of if a member of council in the beginning to as approved by a majority of council is part of the boilerplate. The part that was added through the committee was the no member of staff may represent any position of the city except for the official position is approved by a majority of council. That sentence was added to the boilerplate. So,
Which I think should stay in there because we've had that issue.
yes, so.
Isn't that a restriction on staff, not a restriction on council?
Correct, but essentially the first part of it is the restriction. I think what happened was we saw this and was like, okay, that makes sense, but there's nothing in here about staff and we need to include staff in that, and that's why we tacked that bit on at the end of staff. I don't think it ever rang any bells about the other portion of it. So I'm just letting you know that's kind of where that stems from. This whole section about the mayor and all that stuff was not put in here by the committee because of you or anything else.
No, I know that.
It was just part of the boilerplate. The committee actually added on the section about employees.
And please know that I'm not.
Oh, Brian, I am just hurt.
Well, that I'm being butthurt that you're trying to, handcuff me from being able to represent the city at these organizations.
Weak mayor. Weak mayor.
Oh, geez,
So-
stop.
What did you say? And that's fine,
We're getting
Poorly
late here.
timed joke.
I need a cookie.
Yes,
Can I ask Emily, you need a cookie.
Council President Inslee.
My question is for Emily. Do we need to change the verbiage here, or does this restrict him from doing what he's already doing?
Why not?
Do we need to wordsmith it better?
Why not try deleting, and I'd leave this up to legal counsel, but another governmental agency, because that's where he's at all the time when all these mayors are taking these signature kind of.
Are those governmental agencies or are they?
Well,
Or
they're
organizations.
working groups, kind of.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I mean-
in terms of working
Metropolitan
organizations,
Mayors Association is
Yeah.
22 mayors in the Portland Metro
That's in a
region.
government though. That's a.
NGO, it's not an NGO.
It's like,
It's not an agency.
NGO is a non-governmental
Government organization, NGO.
So if like going to Clackamas County, that would be going to
but this would
Okay, so
preclude
that
him
doesn't
from
fit.
testifying.
What about C4?
Is that,
Would that be, what is another governmental agency? The legislature
Yes.
in this case? Is that-
Other cities, counties, special districts, the state, any intergovernmental agency formed by an intergovernmental agreement. So
So don't go testify in front of another city council
right?
of Canby's position without a vote from Canby. That's what this is saying.
Yeah, in regards to that,
Right,
another
but he can
governmental
sign on
agency.
to a letter at MMC,
I don't know what
That's fine.
MMC is.
Metropolitan Mayors.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a governmental agency to me, unless it was formed by an IGA. Probably
It
not.
is not.
Okay.
Well, and you've had a habit of bringing letters
So,
Oh, really?
sometimes
Yeah, when I've
to
got-
us.
yeah,
We
when
have a
I've had
letter to sign
time,
on
yeah.
to, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, as far as being part of the voting body of a working group, I
all
don't
right, so
think that's the
I
same.
strike, I withdraw I see the swim lane here.
I think
I withdraw my comment.
where this, my
But
suspicion
you're right
is
about
where this is
organization.
coming from in the
That could
boilerplate
be
is they don't want a member of council or the mayor to go making statements
Yeah.
as that person that the rest of the body doesn't agree with, and then the rest of the body is on the hook for what that person says, is my suspicion. So, the question there is, how do you soften this language? Because I think, and this is from a liability safety mechanism, that there should be some verbiage in here that is, if you do not have a group opinion, you are on your own, right? So if I get a call from, the Canby Herald, and they say, Counselor Patton, we want your opinion on
Brown squirrel.
this whole brown squirrel, thing. And I say, well, I'm speaking on behalf of the council, and we actually want gray squirrel. We actually want the brown squirrels and not the gray squirrels. That is not true. But I'm saying it as if it is. And so now you all are gonna be like, what is Patton doing? He's over there, he's off the rails, but now he's made the statement for us. And now all of a sudden, the Brown Squirrel Association of America comes in and says, we're gonna sue you for $60 billion because our constituents are upset that you are trying to ban them from the city. Now the city's on the hook for me saying some stupid stuff to the Canby Herald. So that's how we do that. How do we fix that?
I don't think we can stop you from saying that.
No, we just would, create a sternly written resolution
Yeah.
reprimanding you for your stupidity.
Yes, because
Going against.
what you're saying would actually fall under B, and you're supposed to say, this is my opinion, not that of the city. That's
Yes.
item B there.
Mr. Mayor,
I have.
So you just strike this whole thing?
Yes.
can I
Counselor Stern.
back up a little
I think
bit?
it's fine the way it is.
Letter E, it says the members of council must give public notice of any conflict of interest or potential conflict of interests. I think we should strike out potential conflict of interest on there. And the reason why is because I'm engaged in things all the time that have a potential to have a conflict of interest through work and other things that rarely haven't yet come to an actual conflict of interest. But what I'm talking about, I see that there's like a 1% possibility that these issues could come up before council. If that happens, there's an actual conflict. And then at that point, I would just probably abstain or leave the room because I cannot by law disclose, one, they're privileged, and two, there's actual law that says I cannot disclose
So
those
these
things.
are, I'm assuming intent on the behalf of the subcommittee, but when they say, when the words potential conflict of interest and actual conflict of interest are used here, it means the legal definitions of those terms.
Okay.
And so stating on the record your conflicts of interest, whether potential or actual, is a requirement under state law. Now, stating on the record probably doesn't require you to give confidential information. It will depend case by case, but it doesn't require so much information as to go into the realm of confidentiality, I would think.
Okay.
And we can talk separately about, because you are in a unique position, what that would mean for you.
Yeah, no, that, and I probably would just either abstain or not show up at the meeting. And of course, my clients would be advised ahead of time that I wouldn't be able to vote on the issue if it comes up. But obviously, most of them don't. But, there's that potential out there.
Counselor Waterman?
I was just going back to your thing. I think even with the example you gave previously, you would still be covered in here because you said only the minority of the council had an issue with that. And it says that as long as the majority of the council is good with it, you're fine. So I think you know the intent and what the majority of the council is looking for. And I think I don't think there's a conflict of you doing your job and representing us in that paragraph.
Yeah, I think it's worded fine, unless Emily thinks that we need to wordsmith it else. Otherwise, I think it's fine the way it is, unless we do what he needs to
I
do.
kind of do want to take a second look at this because of that last phrase there, as approved by a majority of the council.
Okay.
So approval is an affirmative action, and I would read that here to mean that council rubber stamps officially a yes for every position, which sounds like, given the realities of what the mayor's working with, doesn't sound practical. So if it's okay with you, I'll take a look at maybe what other cities do in this, see if the folks in my firm have thoughts on it. Mayor, if you have heard from other mayors how they tackle this particular scenario too.
I can poke around and ask, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there have been times where, especially at the Metro Mayor's Consortium, and even it's C4, the Clackamas County Coordinating Committee, where the mayors have said, I've got to abstain because I need to take this back to my council, and so usually Metro Mayor's group is moving pretty quickly, and so usually if it's one of those, then it's by the time you circle back the next month, it's a moot point. So,
gotcha.
But I think that's part of the. I'll just leave it at that.
All right, well, I made a note that you're going to bring that. That's potentially new language. It would come when we go to adopt it, but I think that would be a short conversation. The last item for tonight's discussion is chapter 10, chapter 9, page 21, interactions with staff. Item 1, staff. Under the Canby City Charter, neither the council nor any of its members shall give orders or directives to any subordinate of or city employee other than officers of the city, either publicly or privately, except to and through the city administrator. Item A, not interfering, okay, I'll just gonna read it. Members of the council shall respect the separation between council's role and city administrator's responsibility by A, not interfering with the day-to-day administration of the city business, which is the responsibility of the city administrator, and B, refraining from actions that would undermine the authority of the city administrator or director. The questions are similar. You wanted clarification, and what does this all mean? That's what the question is.
Well, just to read through the first paragraph, shall give orders or directives to any subordinate or city employee other than officers of the city, either publicly or privately, except and through the administrators. Now, a couple of things that I think are unclear on it. Who are the officers of the city that we can give
the officers
orders or directives to?
The officers are the ones that we've hired, the administrator, the lawyer, and the judge.
I'm saying that it should be.
That's in the charter.
That should be explained in the interactions rather than.
Good glossary.
Glossary item.
So also, those are the only ones we could. And even then, if I give a private order to the city administrator, which seems to be allowed here, or directive, or whatever you call it, it probably shouldn't have much effect if the council itself doesn't do it. So that's the other issue I have with the wording of that. It seems to indicate.
I'm not understanding what you're trying to get clarification on.
So under neither or any member shall give order or directive to any subordinate other than the officers of the city, which seems to imply that I can give orders or directives personally, as a person, as a council, or not as a council.
So what this is saying is that you, as a member of council, can give orders and directives to your employee, which is one of the officers. The city administrator, the city attorney, or the judge. What you cannot do is give an order or directive to
Any other employee.
yes, Jerry,
Teresa.
anybody,
Yeah,
Teresa,
no,
anybody like that.
I get that. But what I'm
Yes.
saying is that it seems to say that I am allowed as a councilor to give an order to the city administrator, which I don't think I, as a councilor, should be able to
That's what
do
he's pushing.
I think
as
you
a
do.
council.
I think it's in our charter that we can.
Yeah.
That's exact charter language.
Okay.
And I agree it's ambiguous, and if you want to clean up charter stuff, I would put that.
We got to do that
That's in
through
the
the charter.
Okay, I just thought it was fairly,
Whenever you ask Randy for a piece of information that you haven't asked anybody else, you're giving him an order to give you that information.
yes.
I agree with Councilor Walden. That, it's, whenever you're giving them a directive, and you're telling them you have to do this, and asking them for clarification, an email, a printout, things of that nature. You're not directing them to change something or anything like that. That would obviously have to go with council as well. But as a one-on-one person, you can, as you might ask, city administrator today or yesterday, could you please print me out this printout? My printer is not working. And so, yeah, those are directives.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, I thought that it should be more clear than what was written in the, you say it has to be cleaned up at the charter level. So that was my, I wasn't super unclear about whether I should do something or not. It was the language of that. And like I say, to be a little bit more clear on that, who are those people I can interact with and who I can't? And then I thought that B was kind of vague, and even A was sort of vague. I don't know what, it maybe should be fleshed out a little bit better. So that was that's why I flagged
I think it's pretty clear.
those items. I have an idea myself what it means, but I think the wording was kind of refrain from actions that would undermine the authority of city administrator or director, kind of vague. And then not interfering with the day-to-day administration of the city business. Well, I try not to as a counselor, but as a businessman, I don't really interfere, but I do approach other city employees and stuff.
Well, you shouldn't.
Well, they approach me.
I understand that.
I had.
So I will tell you, Daniel, the reason this is in here the way it is this was born out of recent problems that we have had.
Well, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about
I understand that.
Two city employees came to my office
And that's fine.
to do a survey. It was city business.
Yep.
And obviously, my interaction with them was not trying to tell them to do something or other, but I did have interactions with the city that were outside of the scope as a counselor.
Then that rule doesn't apply.
Yeah, they're asking me questions about, I think it was part of the survey
It was
for
a
the.
survey.
for the street maintenance.
That was as a business owner, though.
Yeah, that's not as a counselor. That's a different.
Yeah, I gotta,
Yes.
yeah, but I always gotta be.
Councilor
very-
Maldonado?
That's part of being a counselor.
Council Sherman, if you want to go to City Hall and say hello to people, you're allowed to. You are not allowed to walk in there and tell them how to do their job. That's city administrator job. You are allowed to speak with anybody and everybody within City Hall. You are not allowed to talk to them about their job, about if they like anybody else in their job, nothing of that nature. You are allowed to speak to them as people, not as employees. When it comes to undermining, obviously, any enforcement that you have on your daily job, you would not undermine any of your supervisors to a lower subordinate. You would make sure that your supervisors are kept to the best light and that they're doing their job well.
Yeah, I appreciate that input. My complaint isn't that whether I already know I shouldn't do those things. My complaint was I think this document is vague on what that is and what that means.
So I guess, so then if that is if
That's
that
my
is it,
opinion. That's my.
I understand that. So then the question is,
My
if
office
you
knows the
do not
idea.
like, so just give me a second. If you do not like the sentence refraining from actions that would undermine the authority of the city administrator or a director, then what are you proposing that is different, that provides more clarification?
If I was drafting that, I would put as, I would do it more of a prescriptive way instead of a refraining way. So I would say all, kind of repeat what was said in the first thing is all interactions with the city should be through with the knowledge and consent and of the city administrator, which is what has happened so far when I've asked the city administrator for something, and he's CC'd me and another staff member on it, and the other staff member reported to me. I think a proscriptive way rather than you can't do anything bad, which is kind of vague. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying I want to do things bad. I'm just saying the document's kind of vague. So that's how I would write it, is I would say all interactions with city staff needs to be with the approval and the knowledge of the city administrator. But I know, Randy, you had your hand up, so maybe you have some thoughts on that.
I was misreading item B, like suggesting that council was going to go through directors as well as the city administrator. So that's not what this is about.
No, refraining from actions that would undermine the authority. So that would be like if someone were to go to one of your directors and subvert what you were trying to do, or go to a librarian and mess up what Marissa's trying to do.
Right, yeah. Gotcha.
Because I've had in the past, with explicit permission and actually suggestion of a city administrator to talk directly with employees in different situations, not all of them controversial, some of them not at all controversial at all. But the idea is, I would write it that way, that all interactions with directors and stuff should be with the approval. And
I would say that is going through your city administrator.
Yeah.
So, which is covered by the current
already
language.
covered it.
Well, so here's the thing. In C, it says limiting individual inquiries and requests for information from staff to those questions that may be answered readily as part of staff's day-to-day responsibilities. Questions of a more complex nature shall be directed to the city administrator. And then there's like subsections under here that says questions from individual members of council requiring significant time or resources, 2 hours or more, shall normally require approval of the council. Members of the council shall normally share any information obtained from staff with the entire council. This section is not intended to apply to questions by members of council acting in their individual capacities rather than a member of council, nor to question regarding conflict of interest or similar issues and blah, blah, blah. I think what this is getting at is like, if I am walking by a park and there is the parks crew out there and I say, hey, how are things going? Has there been a lot of leaves this year compared to last year? And we have that interaction, that's great. But if I say, hey, I've noticed that there's a lot of leaves still on the ground at Maple Street Park, so you should get over there and get them leaves out of there.
That's different.
That's totally different.
yeah, and then the process, instead of having me as a counselor figure out, is this going to take 2 hours, an hour and 45 minutes, or 2 hours and 15 minutes to do, which I have no idea how long it's going to take him to do. If we just made it simpler and say, just ask the city administrator, and he'll know how long it takes, or he'll ask somebody to do it and know it. And that way, by saying all communication should go through the administrator, then that sort of takes all the other things out of the need for the other language out, and makes it much more simpler for me to say, you know what, I wonder if they need to pick up leaves faster, let me ask the administrator. And then that way, administrator knows I'm making the request. He can talk to the right people, and maybe he might say, go ahead and talk to Jerry or talk to somebody else and then we can do that. But I CC, him on all the communications, and I think that should be the directive, and then that eliminates a lot of this. Is it going to take an hour? Is it going to take 2 hours? Is it going to take 30 minutes? Because I have no idea how long it takes city staff to do it. I think they should do everything instantaneously, but.
So then I guess the question, now we go to the polling portion of this thing. Do we feel that there should be some verbiage change about like being more specific, that we need to go to the city administrator for specific questions to clean up some ambiguity? What are people's thoughts?
I'm in favor of it, so.
Daniel's in favor of it. Councilor Maldonado.
I think it's perfectly fine the way it is. I don't interfere with the day-to-day city business.
Okay.
That's self-explanatory.
As written at the top there, except to and through the city administrator. So is it already in there?
But then it says we can, if for an hour question, not for a 2-hour question.
It says you can go around.
Well, it says
To
limiting.
Well, down in number 1, it says questions from individual members of city, from the council requiring, so it's essentially limiting individual inquiries and requests for information from staff to those questions that may be answered rapidly as part of staff day-to-day responsibilities. That's where he's saying.
So number 1 says I should only go to the city administrator. And number C, or 1C says, yeah, go ahead if it takes 2 hours and 50, or 1 hour and 59 minutes, but not if it takes 2 hours and 1 minute, you know.
I don't see I don't see him as conflicting. You know, if you're going to the city administrator to say, hey, can I ask staff person X a question? Then you still need to make sure your question is staff person X complies with C.
Oh, I do see where he's going with this. Oh, this is horrible.
It is inelegantly
Why am I
drafted,
going
though.
down?
It is inelegantly drafted. I can see where that confusion is coming from.
Yes.
So we can strike all of C.
In the charter, I think, isn't it in the charter that it says that city council?
The very first sentence of chapter 9 is copy paste from the
Right.
charter.
So, but that's talking about giving orders or directives. And so as we talked about, asking staff questions to get information is like giving them a directive. So it does, I guess, but it also says that city council can work directly with the city administrator and directors, not just any staff, right? Or was that just the previous policy?
That was just your charter says, one moment.
C looks like an add-on to me. I would stick with the charter as your city administrator.
So your charter says just through the city administrator,
Okay,
no
so
directors.
I would stick, yeah, I would.
I parse out questions, I get you feedback, and I called, I think Councilor Stearns in once to help with a question on taxation. So, you know, I just like it, if it funnels through me, then
I think that's the way it should be.
control,
I just think
how
it's,
quickly I can get the response.
C is sort of it could be read by some people as
Was that boilerplate from LOC?
No, so this I think this was, I looked at the original one, and this is, I think this is not necessarily in there. I think this was an amalgamy of what we currently have in charter, what we currently have in our policies and guidelines, because I was fired up about what was going on in the city at the time, because remind you, this was like a year ago that we put all this together. To me, it almost seems like C and 1 could be put together to say, all questions from regarding city staff and activities and stuff need to go through the city administrator, and then number 2 would essentially become letter D.
Yeah, okay, so collapse C1 into ask your questions, give your directives through the city administrator, but be cognizant of how much staff time it will take the city administrator et al. To do that.
Yes.
And then 2 becomes D by itself. Members of council shall normally share any information obtained, keeping in mind serial meeting issues, et cetera, et cetera.
Does that work?
I like that.
Do we?
it's better.
Damn, Daniel, throw us a bone here.
That's all we can ask for.
Otto, you had a comment or question? Okay.
Okay.
You kill me, Daniel.
I mean,
You
at the
kill
end of the
me.
day, like, when in doubt,
Use your brain.
call or email Randy, the city administrator.
And that's what I want the document to say, just call Randy or whoever sits in his chair.
Whoever's in this.
Call the corner office.
You know, because, I mean, more times than not, you know,
It's just avoiding side
Randy,
quests.
what do you know about X economic development thing? He's gonna send it over to
I would
Jamie.
remove that. If we say it goes through the administrator, there shouldn't be anything in there saying you can go to the staff.
Yeah.
Cool,
Yeah.
we can fix that. I'll fix that.
Okay.
Perfect.
I
Thank
don't
you.
want to
No
truncate this
staff.
part of the conversation, but Maya must be watching us. Hi, Maya.
Oh.
Because she texted me a reminder. She caught a very good catch. Your code does unfortunately say that council meetings shall be held in the city hall. So that's not in the charter, it's in your code. It's in chapter 2.04.
Okay.
So we can
So we
change
can only,
that.
we can only have it somewhere else if there's an emergency, like somebody caved this building in and we have to go to the police department.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we can change your code. We can
That's why we
throw together a
couldn't
quick
put
little
it at this
ordinance,
department.
fix the code
If you want.
if you want to.
Do we want to change the ordinance or do we want to just elect to not have field trips?
Yeah, right.
Councilman Maldonado?
I would say change it. Honestly, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have that option out there just in case.
Well, and in years past, I mean, we've kicked around the idea of holding a city council meeting at the high school in the Omni Room. You know, but our code would say, no,
Okay.
can't do that,
Code
so.
amendment.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can change it.
What-
The option, then it's good to have an option.
Yeah, the charter, it's not in the charter, it's only the code, correct? Yeah, we can change that. We
then
can't
let's
change the
change the
charter.
code.
Okay.
Thanks,
Make
Mike.
it so number one.
That's a big catch for Maya. Good job.
Good job,
Okay,
Mike.
Mr. Mayor, that brings us to the end of the policy document.
I feel like I've been heard and validated.
Oh, I'd hope so. It's 2.5 hours of Daniel being heard.
2.5 hours. You did.
Oh, you crack me
Makes me
up,
feel
Daniel.
good.
Well, we've got to, and this is the conversation I've had with Daniel before. It's like, I understand that you want to roll these things over and over, but eventually you've got to land somewhere. And it's got to be like, I don't like this thing, so I want to see this other thing. Not I don't like this thing. It should be something else, but I'm not going to tell you what that other else thing is. We're gonna get each other there, Daniel. We're gonna get each other there.
Okay. So, Cammy, if you tuned in for this whole thing, this is why we work until 11 o'clock at night. Not anymore, though.
But we haven't adopted it yet.
Some of these changes that need some tweaking by you, ETA,
I can do it for next meeting, next
for the
week.
next meeting?
Yeah.
So I know that we were talking about the agenda earlier, so if we can get that added to the agenda
Yeah.
that we kick out, so that we can get that, these last bits.
So I'll fix this resolution for this ordinance for the quick little code change so you can take this show to the road if you want to, within the jurisdiction of the city.
Right, and long as until we change the code, it's at City Hall.
Yes.
Okay.
So 2 readings.
My second question is, when does council want to put this into effect?
Does it have a 30-day grace period, or is it like once it's approved, it's approved?
It's not an ordinance.
not an
So
ordinance.
so the ordinance will be 2 readings and then 30 days after that. Your council rules you can adopt and may implement immediately upon adoption, but I would put language in the resolution that says that one little part about being able to have meetings away from City Hall shall not become effective until the effective date of ordinance, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep. So, can't go next week.
So do we make it a clean start of
Do you want to do
January
December
1?
1 or January 1?
January 1's, I think, probably good.
So do we have to make a motion to ask for that ordinance to be changed?
Which ordinance?
We've
already The code amendment?
Code, yeah.
We
I have
like
consensus.
But we have to vote on the ordinance.
Yeah, well, you have a chance to change your mind, you know.
I mean, to me, it would make sense to start right away and rip the Band-Aid off, because we're gonna stumble and it's gonna take some getting used to. And so, I mean, start it now or start it in the new year. I mean, we're gonna, you know.
It's a resolution, it's only 1 reading, correct? So I guess.
I'd say we just do it.
I guess it can go into effect December 1st.
Sounds fine to me.
And who enforces this? Is it just to be the mayor?
What's that?
I mean, disagreement, who enforces it, the mayor or?
Chapter 10.
Well, the chapter 10 is you can, censor us, but hey, we forgot to go, stop at 9 o'clock. Does that, any of us says, we start doing point of orders
So
everywhere?
That would be, according to Mr. Robert of Robert Rules, that would be a motion to go back to the orders of the day. So, you move to comply with your procedural rules in that example. For other examples, like the ethics and decorum stuff, council's a self-governing body, so not one individual member can impose a public reprimand upon anyone else. It has to be the entity through a resolution.
Councilman Mono, you made a comment and didn't quite hear it.
Speak up.
No?
Motion, Joe, wait till the new year.
Okay. So, sounds like group wants to go December 1st, 12/1/25?
Sure.
Okay. Any other comments on this? So tweaks come back next meeting, we'll add it to the agenda. If all approved, the changes, we will adopt and put into effect 12/1/2025.
Could we have it
No, that was
already written into the motion for that resolution about the caveat for the ordinance so that we don't forget to do that? Thank you.
Okay. All right, anything else on this topic tonight?
Nope.
I just want to say thank you to
Thank
everybody
you.
for putting the time into this. This is something that was on our council goals that we are now checking off.
Well, and thank you to the committee for the back and forth and city staff time, Emily's time. I mean, all you guys, it's amazing. When you don't revisit these things, things get lost and they don't
And
get
it's baked in there
memorialized.
to revisit it in what, 3 years, 5 years? What was it?
I think it's every 3 years.
Yeah. So it won't go another 10 or whatever it was.
So, okay. If there's nothing else, I'll adjourn the work session. Anyone opposed to that?
Nope.
Okay.
That's it.
You're opposed to adjourning?
No, I think he was waving
Oh,
goodbye.
okay.
Waving goodbye.
All right. Councilor Maldonado, you want to stay on or you want to get off?
Bye-bye.
All right.
You gotta get to the beach.
Tonight, we are done with our work session.